Hi guys, I hope the audio is fine. That's my biggest scare these days. I hope it's not lagging. I hope the audio is fine. I hope the video is fine. It seems to be fine. Today I did not. I decided not to do a book discussion live stream. Instead, I had some ideas in my mind that I needed to talk about. So today we will discuss first and foremost. I have just two problems with Adipurush, especially the new trailer that came out, and my thoughts on Pratik Borade's comments as well about Adipurush. The initial reaction video he did, I kind of agree and kind of disagree with him. Nice, lots of people joining here. Thanks, guys. Dias Pitra, Ushnik Putatunda. Acha, Bangali to mone acha. Rohan Shatra is saying audio is fine, video is fine. Nice. Here to learn has a nice comment. How do you decide the title even before starting the podcast? Because today I decided that I'm going to get into these particular topics only, and one of them is going to be entirely pretty long because I'll do a reaction video essentially. So that I'll leave for the end. But before that, I'll discuss the topics that I want to get into on my own only. First is in terms of Adipurush. So did you guys see the new trailer? Right, I'm not going to play it here. फालतू में copyright हो जाएगा. First, tell me, how did you all like the Adipurush new trailer? See, trailer तो काफ़ी अच्छा है ये वाला trailer. Now the problem is what Pratik Bora they also pointed out, that they have sneakily and interestingly, cleverly hidden all the bad CGI scenes that were there in the previous trailer, right? तो यहाँ पे एक सिर्फ वो बंदर वालों का सीन है श्रीलंका जाने के रूट में, एक सीन, वो सीन अभी भी खराब ही है. सो व्हाट देयर एडिटर और समबडी हैड सेड नो वी आर नॉट डूइंग एनी रेक्टिफिकेशंस. क्या है का रेक्टिफिकेशन, कुछ टाइम ही नहीं है. तो फालतू में ये जो बोल दिया कि अभी हम 100-200 और खर्च करेंगे, 100-200 करोड़, एंड विल मेक इट अ बेटर लुकिंग मूवी. तो आई डोंट नो हाउ मच ऑफ दैट इज़ ट्रू, और किया भी है तो कहाँ पे किया है पता नहीं है, क्योंकि ये सब सीन तो अलग सीन है, एंड ऑल ऑफ देम आर प्रिटी गुड, एज मच एज आई कैन एक्सपेक्ट फ्रॉम बॉलीवुड एट दिस पॉइंट. There was one scene where the CGI was again exceptionally bad, that is Ram, Sita, Lakshman leaving the palace. That palace scene was कोई 2-3 साल भी आजकल अगर कंप्यूटर ग्राफिक्स सीख ले तो वो भी कर सकता है, एकदम फ़ोन वीडियो गेम जैसा था. वो सीन थोड़ा एक्सेप्शनली बैड था. एंड देन I'll get to my second biggest problem with Adipurush so far, which is the audio is mixing quality, and this is only for people who are listening to the music, especially the Jai Shri Ram music on high-end headphones or speakers. If you're listening to it on laptop speakers and phone loudspeakers, then you won't face any problem. But most people today have a reasonably good headphone, so I'm sure you'll relate to what I'm saying. See, the person who has composed that part, the Jai Shri Ram tune, is Ajay Atul. Ajay Atul is probably one of the best orchestral arrangers in India, and especially in terms of epic music as well. But I am beginning to learn that Bollywood basically doesn't get how to produce epic music, epic blockbuster arrangements. And Ajay Atul को उतना भी तो चांस नहीं मिला था अब तक epic music करने का. थोड़ा बहुत टिम्पनी ऐसा दे दिए, और बाकी उनका स्ट्रेंथ जो हमने देखा है आज तक, दैट इज़ मेनली ऑन ऑर्केस्ट्रल अरेंजमेंट फॉर मेलोडियस सॉन्ग्स. मगर एक्शन पैक्ड हेवी लार्ज ड्रम वम वाला जो बैकग्राउंड स्कोर होता है, विच हैज़ बीन मेड फेमस बाय हांस जिमर मेनली, वैसा काम अजय अतुल के हाथों से हमने अभी तक नहीं देखा है. एंड मे बी दे डिडंट इवन गेट अ चांस. अग्निपथ में दिखाएगा कहाँ? एपिक मूवी होगा तब तो एपिक म्यूजिक करेगा. तो दे हैव गॉटन द चांस, एंड इट्स स्टूपिड टू क्रिटिसाइज और अप्रिशिएट देयर एंटायर बैकग्राउंड स्कोर व्हाट दे माइट हैव डन इन द मूवी बेस्ड ऑन जस्ट दैट देयर मिनट ऑफ 1.5 minutes of Jai Shri Ram tune. My problem is the mixing is pretty low, muffled and muddy. Okay, and why do I criticize that? Because I'm comparing it with the South Indian industry. Bahubali, which is from 7 years back, has way better mixing and mastering than this, and it's done in South India only. KGF, powerful punchy background scores with insanely heavy percussions all across the movie, in the songs, etc., all done in South India, about 100 times better than the Adipurush Jai Shri Ram track. I actually like the melody of the Jai Shri Ram track. The arrangement is pissing me off. Not even the arrangement. Arrangement is not pissing me off. Ajay Atul are the best arrangers in India. One of the best. My problem is with the mixing and the mastering. It's very muffled and low, and very muddy. Okay, and the choir, basically the mixing of the choir is also very blunt, dull, muffy in comparison with the South Indian industry. Look at the choirs in Bahubali, RRR, KGF. But mainly right now what we should compare Adipurush is with the Telugu film Hanuman. Okay, you compare the CGI. Hanuman already has better CGI than Adipurush, even though their budget is minuscule in comparison to Adipurush. Even in terms of music, you should compare the Jai Shri Ram track with Hanuman Chalisa, which they released on Hanuman Jayanti. Listen to that on any speaker. The main two things you'll notice is how crisp and crunchy and even then powerful, low, tight, heavy, crispy, crunchy सब कुछ है in the Hanuman Chalisa track, both in the percussions, drumming and in the choir vocals, chorus vocals, not choir, chorus vocals. ठीक है, सब लोग मिलके जो हनुमान चालीसा चांट कर रहे हैं, so much power, you feel like those people are standing all around you and chanting in front of your face. Okay, कान में मुंह डाल के बोल रहा है, ऐसा लग रहा है. Jai Shri Ram, on the other hand, the choir sounds like it's coming from far away and the percussions are very low, muffled. ऐसा आता है, ऐसे आवाज आता है. And why do I have a problem with this? I would not have a problem with this if Tollywood did that kind of an arrangement. I have a problem with this because of Adipurush's budget, because of Ajay Atul's name associated with it, and because the mastering has been done by Don Whelan, who is I think based in USA or England. वहाँ पे mastering के लिए भेजा और फिर ऐसे mastering होगा तो कैसे होगा? And my biggest problem with Adipurush is Prabhas's physique. Okay, and I have countless reasons for it. What was the body positivity movement started out with? Their idea mainly was acknowledge the fact that different societies, different cultures, different people even have different body types. ठीक है, that distorted and devolved into now today's that obesity अच्छा है, बाकी सब बुरा है, और obese लोग को तुम बोल भी नहीं सकते हो कि तुम obese हो. ठीक है, but what the core essence of the body positivity idea is that accept that your body type is different. That doesn't mean give excuses for being unhealthy and doesn't mean give excuses for being fat. If you are fat, work out, but also acknowledge that some people are ectomorph, some people are mesomorph, some people are endomorphs. ठीक है, 3 body type है. I won't get into that discussion. My problem here is there is a general myth and misconception about fitness in the entire world, but even today in India as well, जो कि शुरू हुआ था because of American bodybuilding. Since America is the big loudspeaker in the world because of their economic prowess, तो USA में जो होता है, जो बोला जाता है, जो किया जाता है, that comes up across as the aspirational model in the entire world. वो तो सब फील्ड में हुआ है ना? वही चीज़ फिटनेस में भी हुआ है, विच इज़ बॉडी बिल्डिंग को हम, बॉडी बिल्डिंग के जो वर्कआउट्स होते हैं स्पेसिफिकली, उसी को हम फिटनेस के साथ मिक्सअप कर देते हैं, एंड दैट इज एब्सोल्युटली रॉन्ग. बॉडी बिल्डिंग इज जस्ट अनदर स्पोर्ट एंड इट रिक्वायर्स अ डिफरेंट काइंड ऑफ वर्कआउट फॉर बीइंग गुड इन दैट पर्टिकुलर स्पोर्ट. बॉडी बिल्डिंग के जो वर्कआउट्स हैं, दैट इज नॉट द एंड ऑल बी ऑल ऑफ ऑल फिटनेस, especially not in terms of functional fitness. Okay, bodybuilding is aesthetic fitness, aesthetic training, making your muscles look good. It does not matter. So strength and endurance, etc., these are byproducts of beautiful looking muscles in bodybuilding. Whereas in other sports, in all other physical outdoor sports, the beautiful muscles and your good looking physique is a byproduct of the general endurance and strength, etc., which is why you'll never see a cricketer looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger. तो Arnold Schwarzenegger इतना पॉपुलर हो गए हॉलीवुड के वजह से, which is why even kids in India, even me up till a few years back, used to look upon Arnold Schwarzenegger physique as the only goal, whereas that's not the Indian body type. As I've discussed previously as well, I weigh about 66 to 67 kgs, okay? And I'm one of the taller and more muscular guys in around me in West Bengal. Only people who are bigger than me are if they are extremely fat. अगर वो भी फिट है, वो भी ठीक से खाना खाता है और वो यंग है, तो उसका मसल मास मेरे से बहुत कम है. एंड वेयर एम आई इन द अमेरिकन कंपैरिजन? यूएसए में, यूएफसी में, ठीक है, एमएमए में 67 kg इज जस्ट द फेदर वेट कैटेगरी. उसके ऊपर है लाइट वेट कैटेगरी, उसके ऊपर है वेल्टर वेट, उसके ऊपर है मिडिल वेट, उसके ऊपर है लाइट हेवी वेट, उसके ऊपर है हेवी वेट. ओके, दे आर नॉट फैट. सो फेदर वेट के ऊपर इसलिए वो आदमी नहीं कम्पीट कर रहे हैं क्योंकि वो मोटा है. वो इसलिए वहाँ पे compete कर रहा है क्योंकि उसका बॉडी टाइप ही ऐसा है कि उसको इतना मसल हो गया इवन वाइल बीइंग नॉट फैट एट ऑल दैट ही इज 120 kgs, 150 kgs, 160 kgs, 180 kgs. That kind of physics they have even when they are absolutely fit. Now, where does Adipurush come in here? Here, the physique that Prabhas has is absolutely giving out wrong notions of fitness to India's youth. And that happens with every superhero or action hero in India. But someone needs to break the cycle and someone needs to speak out against these myths, okay? And that is why I like KGF especially more than other movies. See, that guy has no exceptionally big muscles, the Yash person in KGF. He seems to have a great physique anyone could have with just some normally good healthy Indian, bit of workout, bit of jogging, etc. That's the physique KGF has. Whereas in Bollywood, everyone seems to be having a bodybuilder physique these days. Now, why do I have a problem with especially Prabhas's look in Adipurush then? That is because Lord Ram, when he was ousted to go to Vanvas, or even when he was in palace, they could not have had that kind of a gigantic physique as Prabhas. Okay, थोड़ा lag हो रहा है, I think. It will become all right, I hope. Okay. So, what I'm saying is that we have reference points of what Lord Ram might have looked at. I know no one has seen it, but it's a civilizational memory at least. उतना तो respect हम कर सकते हैं for anyone who has drawn Lord Ram professionally as an artist. For all these years, centuries and millennia of sculptures and artworks, etc. of Lord Ram. वहाँ पे कहीं पे भी लॉर्ड राम का क्या ऐसा फिजिक देखा है हमने आर्नल्ड श्वार्ज़नेगर जैसा? तो आदि पुरुष में ये जो फिजिक है, that's so unrealistic, illogical and meaningless in the Indian context, that is pissing me off. And this could have been a great opportunity to break the myths regarding what is an ideal male body. Okay, this should have been their chance, because it's not like Bollywood has always done it. Because पहले तो आर्नल्ड श्वार्ज़नेगर को कोई इंडिया में पहचानता था नहीं था, तो वैसा फिजिक बनाने का किसी का मोटिवेशन नहीं था. बाद में आर्नल्ड श्वार्ज़नेगर को सब पहचान गए, सिल्वेस्टर स्टैलोन को सब पहचान गए, और इंडिया में भी वो बॉडी बिल्डिंग टेक्निक्स आना शुरू हुआ, और इतना प्रोटीन शेक आना शुरू हुआ. तब मतलब पास्ट में ज़्यादा लोग जितना हो सके वेजिटेरियन भी रहना पसंद करते थे. तो अभी ये प्रभास का जो फिजिक है, ये दिन में 10 ग्लास प्रोटीन शेक और 50 कच्चे अंडे के बिना नहीं होगा. वैसा प्रोटीन इंटेक, वैसा खाना, वैसा वर्कआउट, सिर्फ इतना बल्क अप करने का वर्कआउट, इतना बल्क अप करने का खाना, ये कहाँ से लॉर्ड राम को मिलता 5000-6000 साल पहले? Okay, I know we can't get fully realistic with Lord Ram's look because no one knows it, but we have a reference point, and no reference point shows Lord Ram to have a physique of Arnold Schwarzenegger. No Indian person who is just fit and does functional strength and functional workouts or is in combat sports can have a gigantic physique like that. If Lord Hanuman gets that look, I'm fine with it, because he specifically trains for that. And he has been depicted in a different way than Lord Ram. This should have been a great opportunity to show someone with functional strength and functional fitness who is more skinny, does not have pointless muscle mass, but is strong and fit anyway. A reference point would be Akshay Kumar's look in 90s, right? He has always had actual body weight fitness and body weight workout वो उसने हमेशा किया है. अब जाके थोड़ा बहुत मसल तो वो भी ग्रो कर रहा है, but his physique of 90s, that's the ideal Lord Ram physique, I think. उससे भी कम हो तो वो भी ठीक है, मगर बॉलीवुड में थोड़ा तो शोमैनशिप चाहिए. तो I think it's absolutely hilarious the look Prabhas has in Adipurush. Once you know about these things in fitness, these things bug you. Let me check out some comments now. Harshavi Singh, Bhaiya, in Ami Ganatra's book Ramayana Unravel, there is a sketch of Sri Ram which is based on the description of Valmiki Ramayana that was much better, more like Ramcharan in RRR to some extent. Exactly what was going on through my mind. Lord Ramcharan's look in RRR is so much more believable, trustable. It does not shock your eyes. It seems like, Yeah, if I worked out a little, I could do that. You can't actually do that. That actually takes hard work, which that kind of hard work even Lord Ram might have done. जंगल में तो रहना पड़ रहा था, कितना distance पैदल cover करना पड़ रहा था. But what Lord Ram didn't do was do power lifts and drink 50 protein shakes in the day or have 30 raw eggs. That's not what Lord Ram did. He would not have had time to do that. And without that, in India, you cannot have a physique like that. Abhinag is saying namaskar. Abhay Agarwal, Indians' meat intake is not as must as the West. Yes, therefore we cannot have huge muscle mass. Yes, and also this has translated that body positivity, the opposite of body positivity in this case, the insecurity about your own body type, which is whose symptom is Adipurush Prabhas look. See how that has changed in women as well. When white women, white actresses, white singers, white female singers were the reference point for Indian girls, that's when they used to starve themselves to be skinny होना है, weight loss. किसी को fat loss नहीं चाहिए, सबको weight loss करना है, तो उसमें muscle loss हो जाए तो भी problem नहीं है. That was the obsession we used to see, isn't it, as 90s kids growing up. सब लड़कियों को सिर्फ दुबला होना है, because white women are skinny. खुद का body type क्या हो गड्ढे में, तो सबको skinny बनना है. इंडिया में तो I think other than हरियाणा, पंजाब, no women in India are exceptionally skinny like white women. Ab jaake black women or big butts etc. These things are becoming the reference point and the aspirational goal. Beyonce, Serena Williams etc. Jennifer Lopez. Inke wajah se ab, especially I don't know about rest of India, but at least mainly in the all the metropolitan cities, upper middle class, English medium educated women, Bengal, Pune, no matter where, they are putting on fat just to look curvy, and they think that Serena Williams is also fat. Okay, the lack of awareness and education has not gone away. They were not being body positive when they were following Britney Spears' physique, and they are not being body positive when they are following Serena Williams' physique. They are still insecure. They still have no idea of what their body type is, and they don't understand what the difference between flesh and fat. Okay. Every girl in India almost seems to be that they are putting on fat just to look curvy, and they think that's the same as what Serena Williams and Beyonce have. Their body type is different. They are born with so much more flesh than you are. If you try to replicate that much of muscle mass with fat mass, you will die at 42 with heart attack. So again, these fake body goals and transformation ideas need to get out of Indians' minds, and Adipurush could have been a great example, but they screwed it up with absolutely pointless gigantic physique that Prabhas has had. KGF is a much better reference point. Kantara is definitely a much better reference point, but that's not entirely for and off action, so people would not like it anyway. But KGF, even being RRR and KGF being action movies, the way they have portrayed natural male bodies, I think that deserves huge respect, and Adipurush fails at that. Okay, Binay Singh is saying Mata Sita को सफेद ड्रेस में दिखाया है. Yeah, what's up with their colors? भगवा दिखाने में क्या प्रॉब्लम हो रहा है? Tuhin Roy is saying the bigger problem is Prabhas muscles are not even real. Lot of CGI. Yes. Those muscles are not even real. वो किसी ने तो कंपैरिजन किया था ना कि क्या एग्जैक्टली CGI में गलती हुआ था. वो सब दिखा रहा है, ऐसे माउस में डाल के हाथ को थिक कर दिया है. It looks so fake. Okay. Now the next topic I wanted to get to. So I discussed Hanuman's mixing versus Adipurush mixing, Adipurush Prabhas physique. Okay, now let's discuss J-Sai Deepak's idea. No, I'll discuss J-Sai Deepak in the end because I need to look at a few videos. Okay, before that, I need to discuss Raja Ram Mohan Roy a bit, because someone, a Bengali, basically, he's in favor of Indic ideas and Hindutvadi ideas. He is not even my friend. He added me a few months back because of my YouTube channel only. So I'm not going to tell his name, obviously, but he had some counters to the idea of us criticizing Raja Ram Mohan Roy. So let's just let me tell you people what his problems with that argument is. Okay, and I'll tell you my counter arguments and what I think of this idea in general. So first he sent me some Twitter handle links where they were criticizing Raja Ram Mohan Roy. Okay, and then proud Bengalis, leftists, etc., countered those Hindutvaadis vehemently that yes, you guys just hate Bengalis, etc. Okay, then he said that this is the fault in Northern Belt's neo-Hindutva narrative. He says Pratyayam's Sahibs who never left also puts Ram Mohan Roy as a brown Sahib who tried to destroy Indic way of study. Pratyayam also gives gali to Max Muller, calling him just quote-unquote father of Aryan invasion theory without reading him thoroughly, or worse, without understanding that he was a great friend of India. I personally had a talk with Conrad Elst about this. Okay, then he sends me a link of Sahibs Who Never Left of Pratyam and J. Deepak's clip of where he talks about Max Muller's understanding of Bharat, where he says that how great Max Muller had spoken of Hinduism, etc. So to that, first of all, I replied that so far I haven't understood what exactly is the defense of Ram Mohan Roy in the face of these criticisms, क्योंकि हमारा मेन क्रिटिसिज्म ये है कि उन्होंने बोला कि इंडिक एपिस्टेमोलॉजी जाए गड्ढे में, संस्कृत जाए गड्ढे में, सब लोग इंग्लिश पढ़ो, एनलाइटनमेंट एरा का जो अभी अभी डिस्कवरीज हुआ है, मैथ्स, फिलोसॉफी, साइंस, एवरीथिंग, वो सब पढ़ो, तुम्हारा भला हो जाएगा, एंड नो नीड टू लर्न संस्कृत, नो नीड टू लर्न एनी Hinduism as well, because all that will hold you down, hold you back. Just embrace the complete model of European education and you will be fine. That was his argument. What I think of it, will come to that later. So what is the defense of people who are saying that no, Raja Ram Mohan Roy did not do that? Okay, वो arguments हमने properly किसी से नहीं सुना है. If a leftist talks about this, then I don't care about it, because they will just say yes, he was right about criticizing Hinduism, so therefore he is good. I'm looking for someone who agrees with the rest of the Hindutva narrative but also likes Raja Ram Mohan Roy. वैसा किसी के मुंह से मुझे ये सुनना है. So for that I said that there are some on the Hindutva side who do like Ram Mohan Roy, like Sanjeev Sanyal or Alopal of Aurobindo Institute, etc. So unless they have a debate with anti-Ram Mohan Roy folk like Neeraj Atri, Rajiv Malhotra, I'll have to wait for drawing conclusions until I personally read up everything on this topic, because और कहाँ से information लाऊं. As for J. Sai Deepak's quotes of Max Muller, so this is what I was saying, that whatever Max Muller appreciated about Hinduism, those might have been the result of Max Muller considering the Hindus to be invaders from Steppe. Because he believed in the Aryan invasion theory, that's why he loved Hinduism as well, in my opinion. Because what he ends up saying then is that, see, you guys were invaders were so great, you all made a great country, and therefore now, doesn't British colonization also seem kind of justified? So they are like the invaders of today, they are like the reformers and who will usher in a great era. पहले आर्यन हिंदू ने किया था, अब ब्रिटिश लोग करेंगे, so suck it up. That might have been the argument of Max Muller, or maybe in his mind, I don't know exactly. So I said that since Max Muller himself is the father of Aryan invasion theory, it would be fair to assume his compliments towards India or Hindus were in fact veiled compliments for the invader Aryans. To this he said, why? Max Muller just got the origin of Aryans wrong, but he had tremendous faith on Hindu philosophy. Again, this does not discount the fact that he in fact thought Hindus were Aryans, right? So I can't ignore the fact that he thinks Hindus are Aryans and at the same time blush about his appreciation for Hindus. He thinks he's appreciating those things because he thinks that Hindus are invader Aryans. The speech the friend is writing that the speech J. Sai Deepak is talking about is his address to newly recruited British IAS officers, so that they have tremendous respect for India. He's talking about Max Muller. And Max Muller used to consider Sri Ramakrishna as God, not even Avatar. If it was just his love for invaders, then why complete change of faith? Well, because change of faith कहाँ पे हो रहा है? Change of faith उस religion पे हो रहा है जो कि according to him are the Aryan invaders. Okay. And then he says something surprising. He says, don't talk about Rajiv Malhotra, please. And then he sends a laugh emoji. And he says that This is his main point, that my worry is they will come after Vidyasagar next. So we'll get into what the video of Rajiv Malhotra is. We'll discuss it here as well. A surprising video of Rajiv Malhotra. So I responded to the video. But other than that, in context of Vidyasagar, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, I said that what are you exactly afraid of? That the neo north belt के हिंदुत्ववादी विद्यासागर को लेकर क्या बोलेंगे ऐसा? For what exactly do you think Vidyasagar will be criticized? For criticizing Sanskrit? I don't know personally. Did he also say screw education and let's just learn English Western Enlightenment? Did Vidyasagar say that? I don't know. What will he be criticized for? For widow remarriage? And are you saying that Max Muller doesn't deserve Gali for being the father of Aryan invasion theory? Or is he not the father of Aryan invasion theory according to you? What exactly would be your problem with Pratyam criticizing Max Muller? So now let me show you guys the funny video of Rajiv Malhotra that he sent in order to solidify his argument that Rajiv Malhotra should not be taken seriously. This was a pretty strong claim, so I watched the video and frankly it is funny, but I don't know how seriously I should take it. Abhiraj is saying your friend seems like a typical insecure Bhadralok, ignore him. No, but he is a Hindutvadi. Okay, Binay Singh is saying when Pathan का boycott हो रहा था general public से, तब शाहरुख को कितना support मिला? Why Kerala story को सब बैन करने पे तुले हुए हैं? सब तो नहीं ना, सब नहीं, वो अर्बन अपर मिडिल क्लास ही तुले हुए हैं. तो उनके पास सब कुछ का एक्सक्यूज है. तो केरला स्टोरी में 32,000 काहे दिखाया, करो बैन. His video with Nityananda, yes, Abhay Agarwal already understood. Okay, Karnataka कौन जीतेगा? I think BJP is winning according to Sanjay Dixit's company's polls at least. Okay, let me cast Rajiv Malhotra's video with Nityananda. It's pretty funny. And I think it's meant to be funny. That is the main thing. I think it was meant as a humor and joke because everyone around him is smiling and laughing. Why should I take it that seriously? This is the video he sent me.
Propose a. I will now propose a very provocative business strategy. We can do business like a smart lawyer can do smart lawyering. We can do business smart.
Yes.
This is a proposal which, according to Agama, once you revived this particular technique, should be available only to the Agama people, and it will create so much wealth. And the proposal is as follows. Some of you who are into venture capital and investment banking and so on, this will make you the richest man in the world, what I'm now going to tell you. If you go to Bill Gates, his biggest problem, you tell him, is that when you are dead, your wealth is useless for you in the next life, unless we can find you and transfer that wealth. So the proposal is, we go to Bill Gates and say, you got 100 billion, and you are giving philanthropy, this, that, because charity will get you to heaven and whatnot, that is your tradition. Out of the 100 billion, you give 50 billion to us in trust, to be given to you in your next life when we find you. Because it is possible you may be born very poor. Bill Gates may be born very poor, and Warren Buffett may be born in some African village, is very poor guy. Because, you know, the
Okay, this is the first indication that Rajiv Malhotra must have been saying all this sarcastically or humorously. He was making a joke essentially, because जिसके स्टेज पे आए हैं वो गेस्ट के तौर पे, वो होस्ट खुद हंस रहा है. It's not like Rajiv Malhotra is making a serious, profound comment on afterlife and Hindu way of afterlife and Hindu vision and Hindu interpretation of Bill Gates' words or something. It's not that. It's not a presentation that's going on. This is him making a joke, the audience laughing, and Nityananda himself laughing. I don't see why this needs to be taken seriously. And even if this needs to be taken seriously, even if, let's say, Rajiv Malhotra is a crazy person for believing these things, how can I ignore all his brilliant critiques of cultural Marxism of the West? वो इग्नोर कर दूँ? यहाँ पे अजीब बात बोल दिया इसलिए? I don't know. This was a serious video actually, but how is everyone laughing? Abhay, even if there was a brain fade, it does not take away from the sheer work Rajiv ji has done. Yes, that's what. Okay, Ninar is saying Max Muller said this. India is much ripe for Christianity than Rome or Greece were at the time of Saint Paul. Yeah, what did he mean by that? Did he mean that they are intelligent enough to now embrace Christianity? That might have been the case.
Karma people, the people in the sky who are the admin for karma might say, okay, you had one good life, now you have to be poor also. So if we can, within the...
Okay, Abhinak, okay, you guys apparently know this already. So, did he apologize and say that I am wrong for saying those things? Or did he say that I apologize because you all didn't understand? I was saying it in a different context. What was his defense exactly?
Rules of the Agama, locate where Bill Gates is next time and give him at least 5-10 billion, he'll be much happier. So to do that, we form...
This tone seems pretty funny and hilarious. He does not generally speak this way. I can only judge from body language क्योंकि 1.25 घंटा का इंटरव्यू मैं नित्यानंद के साथ देख नहीं पाऊंगा, आँख से ब्लड निकल आएगा, मगर यहाँ पे जो टोन बॉडी लैंग्वेज है वो तो seems like a joke.
We form a trust management company. Normally, trust is formed to transfer your wealth to your biological offspring and all that. And these banks take a lot of commission and they pass it on to your kids and whatnot. So this will be the world's first inter-life reincarnation trust management. Okay.
I think if we do little more research and establish the authority,
we can do that.
It is possible.
Yeah. So
sure.
So right now, $40 trillion is owned by the world's richest 1% people. $40 trillion, which means when they're dead, it's gone kaput. They don't know their kids are any good, not good. Some of it is taken by government here, there, whatever. So if we could get $1 trillion out of these 40, put into our trusteeship, where we will form these Agama groups. We will take the Gurukul kids and teach them as another manifestation. To Warren Buffett will get 10 people meditating around him to keep track, entanglement, his being. And then like the...
Actually, Agama even gives the methodology to bring back where you want.
Yeah, and so...
We can be clearly guiding and bring back wherever we want.
So there'll be 2 levels of fee structure. One fee structure, you know, we take 25% of what he's put in trust is our fee.
Okay, so people who have seen this are saying that he was serious and he was being over the top. Maybe he got carried away because of all the gigantic following he was facing all of a sudden after all these years, after spending a lifetime working in offices or going around giving speeches to little crowds. This is the time when he is kind of becoming a superstar in the right-wing movement, and he is a pioneer of all of sorts. So maybe that's why he got carried away, and this is a great lesson in remembering that yes, even great men fall and great men have flaws, and even great men get carried away, I guess. So this is a hilarious understanding, realization. Here to learn is saying, why is a serious person like Rajiv Malhotra even having a comfortable seat with someone like him? Yeah, because at that point, I think people did not know that Nityananda was that controversial, I guess. I don't know. I didn't know about Nityananda even then, so I didn't know. I saw a video where he clarified this. What did he say while clarifying? What was his defense? Nityananda has fed him some high stuff. Okay, some important points came here. I want to get to that. Aniket Gautam is saying, okay, पहले ये बंद करते हैं. Aniket Gautam is saying that with all due respect, sometimes Bengalis behave strangely. In my conversation with Bengali women, with a Bengali woman, she thinks goddess is only worshipped in Bengal. Yes, a lot of people think that. And क्या करे? That is the view of most Bengalis, and क्योंकि see, reading this book, of course, mass movements. So I'm adding up and concluding a lot of things about mass movements and mass ideas and mass psychosis. तो mass movement के लिए कुछ different kinds of ingredients चाहिए, और mass movement कब जाके successful होता है, और या फिर कोई भी idea mass में कब सक्सेसफुल होता है, उसके लिए भी बहुत सारी चीज़ें मैटर करते हैं. तो बंगाल का क्या प्रॉब्लम है? बंगाल का प्रॉब्लम है इकोनॉमी गड्ढे में जाना. इकोनॉमी गड्ढे में जाने के वजह से बाकी सब कुछ में थिंकिंग प्रॉब्लम्स, हाउ टू सॉल्व प्रॉब्लम्स, ये सब कुछ कंफ्यूज हो चुका है सोसाइटी में. तो बंगाल में जो सिस्टमैटिक एंड सिस्टेमिक जो प्रॉब्लम्स हैं इंस्टीट्यूशंस के, दैट इज now decades old, and it has reached the roots. It's cerebrally and chronic disease हो गया है बंगाल का कुछ चीज़ों में. तो वो सब में blame किसको करे? Okay, everyone in Bengal knows that there's a problem going on in the state. Everyone agrees that there is a problem. The difference is someone thinks X is the problem, someone thinks B is the problem, someone thinks C is the problem, those kinds of things. And everyone has different solutions. So there's a large chunk of Bengalis who have decided that the sole problem of our state being in shambles is non-Bengalis. So, and that has been the case for again many decades. Kyunki what has Bengal seen for about 30-40 years when they have gone outside? They have seen all states progressing. Okay, now especially now when Kolkata is a metropolitan city only in name. Now when Kolkata is not even remotely a metropolitan city, what do they see when they go outside in Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore? They again see gigantic progress. पहले थोड़ा ज़्यादा progress था, अब gigantic difference है progress में. तो ये 40-50 सालों में बंगाल के लोगों ने ये सुना है कि हमारा progress क्यों नहीं हो रहा है. The reason behind that is that Delhi is not sending money. Now that can be true, that might not be true. Even if that's true, it's the CM or the local party's job to get the money for your state. It can't be an excuse. It can't be an excuse for 50 years at least. So CPM used to say that Delhi doesn't give us money. Now Mamata Banerjee says 100% exactly that same statement all day. Delhi does not give us money. Delhi पैसा देगा, हम पूरा मद्रासा education में उड़ा देंगे. Now what does Delhi represent then? That the world is stacked up against you. The entire country is stacked up against you. And who is rest of the country? Non-Bengalis. तो बंगाल में कौन प्रॉब्लम कर रहा है? नॉन बंगाली रिक्शा वाला से लेकर नॉन बंगाली बिजनेसमैन प्रॉब्लम कर रहा है, और नॉन बंगाली पॉलिटिकल एस्टैब्लिशमेंट हमको पैसा नहीं दे रहा है, इसलिए हमारा स्टेट में गड्ढे में है. एंड सो नॉन बंगाली में हम नॉन बंगाली को लेके हम कुछ भी रिसर्च भी नहीं करेंगे. Therefore, we won't end up knowing that female goddesses are worshipped everywhere. Therefore, that's a point of supremacy again. That yes, see, we Bengalis are so nice that only we worship female goddesses, while everyone else is only patriarchal and male chauvinist, etc. Yes, she gets the money and uses them to spend on freebies. Yes. सिर्फ फ्रीबी तो प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. फ्रीबी में किसी का अगर थोड़ा भी हेल्प होता है, इवन इफ आई एम अ फ्री मार्केट गाय, फ्रीबी cannot be an absolute waste. Freebie should be least waste. But things like Lokhir Bhandar, it has a 12,500 crore rupee budget where a woman gets 500 rupees in a month. So it's a waste for the state and a waste for the person getting it as well. How bad does a welfare scheme have to be where it makes absolutely zero difference in the life of a person who gets it? Okay, now you might say that, no, some people are so poor that they even 500 rupees a month is great for them. Okay, then give to just them. They are giving it to everyone is lining up. And then you can argue that, okay, then if 500 rupees doesn't matter anything, then why are people lining up? That would be a great argument. And then maybe we could do a psychoanalysis of humanity in general, where people might think that anything free is great. So free में 500 रुपए मिल रहा है तो वो भी बढ़िया बात है. But I'm not saying it's a waste because the person getting it also thinks it's a waste. I'm saying it's a waste because even if the person thinks it's a great thing, because I know from an outsider perspective that housewife cannot do jack shit with that 500 rupees. Therefore, it's a complete waste. That entire 12,500 crore rupee is going down the drain, and she and Mamata Banerjee is saying that the center is not giving us money. Here to Learn is saying Nrsimha Prasad Bhaduri also in one of his videos said that the stepmotherly attitude towards Bengal from center or north has been happening since the Vedic age, though he believes in AIT. Then I'll have to ask, why was the greatest Bengali king of Bengal, Doctor I'm saying, King Shashanka, a hardcore Shaiva? Okay, Vedic age तो नहीं है वो. Vedic age, what is Vedic age? That is about 3,000-4,000 years old. That's pre-Puranic age. Okay, if there is something really called Vedic age, if he is a person who believes in Aryan invasion theory, तब तो वो Vedic age बहुत पहले है. वो Vedic age में तो considering Aryan invasion theory or Aryan migration theory, then the Bengal area is an outgroup. वो तो west से आ रहा है. ईरान, इराक, अफगानिस्तान, पाकिस्तान, अफगानिस्तान, हरियाणा, वेस्टर्न हाफ ऑफ इंडिया, कश्मीर, ये सब जगह से धीरे धीरे आ रहा है. बंगाल में जब तक आया तो उसके पहले तो बंगाल आउट ग्रुप ही था. तो वैदिक एज जो है, जिसे बोला जाता है, वैदिक एज में बंगाल शुड नॉट हैव बीन अ पार्ट ऑफ द वैदिक सिविलाइजेशन. तो especially considering if they think Aryan invasion theory and Aryan migration theory is correct. If there was no such thing as Aryan migration theory and Aryan invasion theory, then we'll have to consider that then there was no discrimination in terms of Bengal, Vanga in Vedic age, in which case we will have to debate the validity of translations and scriptures, etc. But at least the coastal people of Bengal were definitely considered mlechas, I've heard, even though people in Southeast Asia were not considered mlechas according to Sanjeev Sanyal. Then we'll have to debate who was considered mlecha when. Okay, वैदिक सिविलाइजेशन, वैदिक एज जो है, वैदिक एज में पूरा का पूरा दुनिया या पूरा का पूरा भारत तो वैदिक नहीं था अकॉर्डिंग टू आर्यन माइग्रेशन थ्योरी. तो कब कहाँ पे किसको मलेच्छा समझा जा रहा था. बिहार इज द लैंड ऑफ 11 रुद्रास. Nrsimha Prasad Bhaduri should go back to Pabna, Bangladesh, where he was born, to escape from the Marwari Bihari tyranny. Here to learn is saying the Brahmins came to Bengal and spread the Aryan culture but ignored Bengali culture, or maybe I got it wrong because he is a great scholar. Yeah, the pre-Aryan Austral Dravid Bengalis. Yes. So at some point Bengalis were the outgroup to Aryan culture, as were many other people as well. So that's not a justification or a sign of continued discrimination against Bengal from the center. Again, I have to give these anecdotal examples, but they are kind of important. Sanjeev Sanyal kaun hai? He's born and brought up in Kolkata. He is one of the most important faces in the government. Vivek Debroy. These two are the chief core guys handling the nation's economy from a technocrat point of view. बंगाल के अगेंस्ट अलग जो डिस्क्रिमिनेशन हो रहा है पैसों के मामले में, दैट इज़ कम्प्लीटली फॉल्सहुड. और पैसा देगा भी तो क्या उखाड़ लेगा वो आई डोंट नो. देगा तो लकीर भंडार को, और अगर नहीं भी दे रहे हैं दैट्स योर फेलियर कम्प्लीटली, बिकॉज नो अदर स्टेट इज कंप्लेनिंग दैट. नो अदर स्टेट इज गोइंग अराउंड सेइंग फॉर 50 years दैट नो सेंटर डज नॉट गिव अस मनी. अरे 50 साल 60 साल से सेंटर डज नॉट गिव अस मनी. Harshav is saying, yeah, being different in my list, I wish to read Breaking India. Yeah. You forgot Swapan Dasgupta, yes. Okay, Binay Singh had made an important comment before that. He was saying, have you seen Rajiv Malhotra proving the eye awakening? Oh, yeah. That one was one. He did show some magic like third eye awakening. Okay, before that, Binay Singh said, yeah, Pathan to ho gaya. मेरा वाला comment पढ़ो please. हाँ, what did Binay Singh say? कमेंट रीड करो. वाल्मीकि रामायण में पूरा डिस्क्रिप्शन दिया है. अच्छा, ये लोग फ्रस्ट्रेटेड होके मूवी बना रहे हैं. माँ सीता को गुलाबी रंग में दिखाया है. रिसर्च भी नहीं है. हाँ, वो शायद खुद का इंटरप्रिटेशन बना दिया है. आई एम डैम श्योर उन्होंने वाल्मीकि रामायण पढ़ी भी नहीं होगी. हनुमान जी इज आइडियल फिजिक वी शुड एस्पायर फॉर. यस, इनको बस पैसा कमाना है. यस, थर्ड रेटेड डायरेक्टिंग इस मूवी की. Okay, Ushnik Putatundo is saying, what are your views on the opening part of Adipurush trailer? ये कहानी है मेरे प्रभु श्री राम की जो मानव से भगवान बन गए. Do you think the narrative is a bit improper? I have no idea. I have not read Ramayana after I grew up. I read that Upendra Kishore Roy Choudhury's Ramayana for kids. That's the only one I've read. मानव थे भगवान बन गए. I don't know. What would be improper about it exactly? Is it disrespectful in any way? Was he born Bhagwan or did he not become Bhagwan? What would be a disagreement with this? Everything aside, the Lakshman Rekha interpretation looks cool. Okay. Anushka Tyagi is saying Ram Mohan Roy was fluent and in Sanskrit and had also studied the Vedas and Upanishads in Benares. So I don't buy it when right wing tells me that he had a malicious bias against Sanskrit language. Yes, in this matter, we have to remember that Sanskritist and just someone who just has a cursory knowledge of Sanskrit is not the same, because there are people who can read Sanskrit but they won't fully understand the context of a particular word, which is extremely important in Sanskrit. And for that, you need to be a Sanskritist. Even Romila Thapar understands some Sanskrit. She's not a Sanskritist, which is why she gets most things wrong in her career. And Raja Ram Mohan Roy knew Bengali, English, Hindi, Persian, etc., Farsi, Sanskrit. So that kind of seems a little over the top anyway, because even in modern academia, anyone who have seen has making the claim that I know a bit of Hindi, bit of Urdu, bit of Sanskrit. All of them I've seen that come up with the same conclusions which Raja Ram Mohan Roy came up with, and they end up misinterpreting a lot of things or not having enough respect for it. So why is it that only Sanskritists end up interpreting or translating things in a way that makes them have greater respect for the thing other people are criticizing, who are saying that I know many languages along with Sanskrit? So there's a point to note. कचरा कर दिया हमारे कम्युनिस्टों ने. Yes. In Sanskrit, one word has 1,000+ meanings, and yes, and that is the problem. And for that, you need to learn how to set up the or understand the context of that entire text. इसलिए primary source के बिना संस्कृत में कुछ हो नहीं सकता है. And each meaning changes the situation completely. Yes, context is a huge problem in Sanskrit. You are talking about Tyler Williams, right? Yes, Harshavi, yes. I teach a bit of Hindi, bit of Urdu, bit of Sanskrit. सब कुछ बोल दिया. Okay. Now the next topic I want to get into is I have come up with two disagreements of I have with Jesai Deepak, which are kind of nagging me in my mind. One of that is recently in the Ranbir Allahabadia show, he said that okay, I forgot to mention one thing about Raja Ram Mohan Roy. Okay, let me know if the audio is coming fine. So there is a 180-degree difference between Raja Ram Mohan Roy and Sir Syed Ahmed Khan, right? So the core difference being, and that has led us to different points in our history and in the current times today, in terms of what Hindus have been able to do and what Muslims have been able to do. That distinction is very important while discussing Raja Ram Mohan Roy, and why. Based on that, keeping this point in mind, I think you should draw your conclusions about Raja Ram Mohan Roy, because it is a grey area. I just remembered it. Raja Ram Mohan Roy is saying you don't need to learn Sanskrit. A person who supposedly knows is fluently Sanskrit is saying you don't need to Sanskrit, and you definitely don't need to learn Indian epistemology. It has no value, Indic wisdom, etc. Even though he has read it apparently. Learn English, become part of the colonial education system, progress in your life. Okay, that is his argument. Sir Syed Ahmed Khan's argument is learn English, become part of the establishment, become part of the colonial education system, but also go back to your Islamic roots. Okay, now in light of that, based on this, you should draw your conclusions of Raja Ram Mohan Roy. If you don't even agree that Raja Ram Mohan Roy had any misgivings, or he was not wrong at all for discarding Indic education or thought systems, okay, or if he didn't even do that, then I have nothing to say to you, of course, because we disagree on the basic premise or even the facts as well. Because I think his letter is clear enough that he does not care about Indic epistemology all that much. But if we agree on that he did want to discard Indic epistemology in face what he believed would have been best for India's youth, why then is Sir Syed Ahmed Khan's view not as good as his? Okay, because what Sir Syed Ahmed Khan is saying obviously makes more sense. Learn English, don't forget to be as Muslim as possible, because if you don't learn English, you are not being part of the education system, and Hindus are going to kick your ass. That's Sir Syed Ahmed Khan's argument. फिर से लैग हो रहा है क्या? I don't know what's going on. Okay, so Now, what did Ram Mohan Roy's views of Indic epistemology and Indian education system lead Hindus to, and what did Sir Syed Ahmed Khan's idea lead Muslims to? That we have to discuss. Now, what we can see is that Hindus are largely successful in terms of career and education. क्योंकि इंग्लिश एजुकेशन सिस्टम के हम जब पार्ट बन गए तब हमारा प्रोग्रेस कोई रोक नहीं पाया, बिकॉज जॉब्स था, जॉब्स की वजह से सैलरी मिला, एंड जनरेशंस केप्ट लर्निंग बीइंग पार्ट ऑफ द एजुकेशन सिस्टम, but a large chunk of the country did not get to do it anyway, but that's because of socialist policies, etc. Not enough market economics. वो problem है. Now, Sir Syed Ahmed Khan's advice was not really paid heed to by the Muslim community as well, isn't it? Which is why, and maybe in that case, maybe you can say that Sir Syed Ahmed Khan's proposition was actually too difficult for a general mass of people to follow, and therefore Raja Ram Mohan Roy's proposition might have been better. You can argue that, because what are we seeing? That Muslims did not become a part of the colonial education system or the job system as much Sir Syed Ahmed Khan wanted them to. They only followed half of the advice, which is be as Muslim as possible, which J.S. Deepak admires vehemently in India, Bharat, Pakistan. और जॉब वॉब नहीं मिला उतना, तो आज भी मुस्लिम कम्युनिटी रिमेन्स मोस्टली पुअर. And even if they, now, are they really poor or not, we will never know, because there's so much of illegal Muslim population immigration all the time. So when we look at the general Muslim mass as mostly poor, a lot of that might be because of the unlimited poor Muslims coming in from Bangladesh and Pakistan. So we will never know, but if that is the case, that Muslims are generally more uneducated and more out of jobs than Hindus, then that is a failure of not being able to follow Sir Syed Ahmed Khan's advice properly. Whereas Hindus followed Raja Ram Mohan Roy perfectly, gave up their Hindu roots and became commercially successful. Now we are at a point where we have definitely a very obvious dearth of people who can talk about Indic epistemology and Hindu faith or wisdom, intelligence, everything. We have a dearth of people like that, but we are the fifth largest economy in the world and only increasing. So then why should we care about Indic epistemology going to hell? Because we are still at odds with a general law and order problem when it comes to the Middle Eastern colonizers. Because सर तन से जुदा कोई अगर करना चाहा तो वो कर देगा, उसके बाद में पुलिस उसको शायद पकड़ेगी, शायद नहीं पकड़ पाएगी. बट इन जनरल देर इज द ह्यूज सिस्टम ऑफ सपोर्ट सिस्टम दैट दे हैव फॉर क्रिएटिंग वायलेंस, एंड दे विल बी एबल टू किल यू if they feel the need to. But on the other hand, Hindus have no such unity, and I think that unity is always a bit tough anyway. But that's has been hampered even more because of Raja Ram Mohan Roy's 75 years of education ideas. Now, where do you stand? Let me know. Do you think we could have we could have discarded Raja Ram Mohan Roy's ideas, and instead if there was a Sir Syed Ahmed Khan whose voice for the Hindu side, who might have said the exact same things for Hindus, like Shri Rishi Aurobindo or somebody, if they were given more importance instead of Raja Ram Mohan Roy, who said that be as Hindu as possible, also be part of the colonial system as much as possible, do you think Hindus would have been more successful in doing that, as opposed to the Muslims who were not successful? Muslims did not become part of the colonial system, just became as Muslim as possible. I think Hindus could have, because of what we are achieving now in terms of the rest of the world, especially where the rest of the colonized societies have still not recovered from the harm they received in the colonial times. But we have, because of our general Hindu intelligence and Hindu ethos, I think Hindus would have perfectly been able to follow an advice like Sir Syed Ahmed Khan's, which is be part of the colonial education system, but also be as Hindu as possible. That is where is the main criticism I have for Raja Ram Mohan Roy, because a lot of people might say that no, Hindus would also be as poor and stupid as Muslims. That is the general Bengali argument, I know that Raja Ram Mohan Roy saved India by discarding Sanskrit and Indic epistemology. If it is an either or situation that either indie epistemology nahi to amir banna in staying in the system, if you have to choose only between these two, then obviously Raja Ram Mohan Roy's advice seems fun and nice. But I don't think that would have been the case. I think Hindus could have managed it. I think Hindus would have learnt English and been as Hindu as possible, and both would have worked perfectly fine. I think Raja Ram Mohan Roy was being paranoid for no reason. Okay. Now, let's see what comments. First love jihad is Jodha Akbar. Yes. Okay. Now an important thing. My disagreements with Jesai Deepak. I have two disagreements. First is, kahan gaya? So Jesai Deepak said that he likes Noam Chomsky. He's beginning to like Noam Chomsky, and he's wondering that why Noam Chomsky, who has such great on-point criticism of USA, why does he then have such wrong views of Hindus in terms of Kashmir, etc. And that I need to push back on and earlier as possible, so that most people who have not heard of Noam Chomsky or have not heard Noam Chomsky's arguments, I don't want people on the Hindutva side or people on the Jesai Deepak fan wing side to now suddenly fall in love with Noam Chomsky, because I have grown up listening to Noam Chomsky's name and ideas all my life, and I have been brought up in a leftist environment, so I know the problems with those arguments. I think better than Jesai Deepak, dare I say. But I'll try to argue where Jesai Deepak is wrong on that, and because for that I will also react to a video of an interview of Noam Chomsky with the person called Patrick Bet-David, who runs the channel called Valutainment, who is a free market conservative type of a podcast. Mainly it started out with business advice and motivational speech, etc. Now he does great podcasts with different kinds of people, leftists, progressives, liberals, conservatives, all sorts of things. And he had brought on Noam Chomsky, and where you will find that Noam Chomsky says most things which are wrong, which are just sugar coated in great English grammar and flowery language. Now a lot of people have problem with flowery languages itself, that because some people have a problem with flowery language because some other people get so influenced by someone's ideas just because that idea was said in a flowery language. Now I don't personally have a problem with flowery language. If it's just flowery language, then it's a different issue. But remember that some people saying that Jesai Deepak's word decoloniality, post-colonialism is sirf confusing jargon hai, etc. I don't know where in life can you have a conversation without jargon. You are always going to use terminology. ये terminology तुम्हें ज़्यादा नया लगा या कठिन लगा तो इसका मतलब jargon use करना गलत है. That cannot be an argument. And also other than that, flowery language is also not inherently bad, because based on the kind of movies, books and stuff you consume, your vocabulary will be different, your choice of words will be different. Now I understand that Noam Chomsky, Jordan Peterson, these people are very verbose. They use a lot of extra words to describe something a lot simpler. But Noam Chomsky and Karl Marx, they say absolutely dumb, hilariously stupid things beyond common sense to people on the ground level, lower middle class and lower class, etc. And which if explained to them, they would know that it's absolutely stupid. But because there's a great overlay of rhetoric on Noam Chomsky and Karl Marx's ideas, that's why the lower middle class or the lower class is easily fooled into becoming communism supporters, etc. But remember that there is the difference between Sanskrit language and Prakrit languages, right? Because Prakrit means what's natural. Sanskrit means jiska sanskaran hua hai. Okay, so it's refined. And a professor, an educated person, will always speak in a different language and different vocabulary than a person on the ground level, right? Because a Hindi professor or a Sanskrit professor will never say that kya be kahan ja raha hai, or any colloquial sentences, okay? But it's the person on the ground who will speak like that, and that is the quote unquote Aryan language. Who is an Arya? Okay, again, a refined person who speaks well, speaks in clean language, does not use much expletives, and speaks in a nice tone, respectful way, etc. And so if Sanskrit is not just jargon, confusing, verbose, etc., then you can't blame J-Sai Deepak or Jordan Peterson for that matter for using too much of jargon and verbosity, etc. Okay. Now coming to J-Sai Deepak's love for Noam Chomsky, we will debunk that. But before that, let's just remember that Noam Chomsky is a Jew who also hates Israel and supports Palestine, even though keeping Palestine under their boot is probably what's keeping Israel safe, because why should Israel give Palestine the same chances that India has been giving to Pakistan? Especially because J-Sai Deepak until even a few months back said that the only acceptable Pakistan is a Pakistan that's reduced to the status of Palestine. Okay. And now that same J-Sai Deepak unfortunately has fallen in love with Noam Chomsky's idea, at least, which we will get to. But Noam Chomsky's criticisms of USA are also pretty baseless, and you will see that in an interview with Patrick Bet-David, where a bunch of Noam Chomsky's supporters have come in the comment section and were saying that how stupid Patrick Bet-David came off across in the interview. I'm specifically choosing this interview because here they are saying that Patrick Bet-David absolutely lost the debate. But what I'll show to you is that Patrick Bet-David was just being nice because Noam Chomsky is about 100 years old. He was just being nice to an old man. He was not losing the debate. Noam Chomsky was making absolutely crazy bullcrap points wrapped in nice language. And for that we'll have to check out the entire video. But before that, let me just point out another disagreement I have had with J-Sai Deepak on this particular thing. I have not been I liked it initially, but then I realized no, it's just a band-aid. Some policies and some ideas are just band-aids. Okay guys, not going to the core of the issue and solving the problem and applying a band-aid on top of a band-aid on top of a band-aid is what Congress does, is what BJP is doing today. And when J-Sai Deepak advocates such an issue, that needs to be pointed out. I hope J-Sai Deepak one day realizes that he is just recommending a band-aid on the issue and not going to the core of it, which is his view on free speech. J-Sai Deepak's idea is that right now we cannot have absolute free speech and we should have a blasphemy law because it's the only weapon a Hindu has in terms of pursuing at least a legal case when someone disrespects their gods and goddesses. Because in case of the other side, especially in the Middle Eastern colonizer side, you are either getting sued for blasphemy left and right or you are getting killed. हिंदुओं के पास किल विल करने का कोई इंटेंशन नहीं है, फंड नहीं है, यूनिटी नहीं है, कोई इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर नहीं है, तो हिंदुओं के पास सिर्फ ये राइट ही है सू करने का, तो वो भी हम क्यों ले किसी से. दैट इज J-Sai Deepak's argument. Whereas I think, and that is a band-aid, because what is the core issue? The core issue is either why do people feel the need to criticize someone's god or goddess? Okay, that's the first point that needs to be addressed. People should not be doing that. We should live in a society where we are inherently so ethical and moral and nice to other people that we don't disrespect someone's gods and goddesses. But it is what it is. We don't live in such a society. Now, do I just when someone says like the comments on Lord Ram that were coming on my comment section, now should I hire a lawyer for that? I can't. Okay, should I hire a lawyer now every time someone I find to be disrespecting a Hindu god? Nahi, wo kaise hoga? Then how as a Hindu, how am I supposed to respond to that disrespect? What option do I have? I don't have a legal option. That's just a band-aid for someone else to use on me. जो मुस्लिम और क्रिश्चियन मुझसे ज़्यादा अमीर होगा वो मुझ पे यूज़ कर देगा. If I respond it in the comment section that okay, you are calling my God bad, I'll call your God bad. वो स्टोरी वहाँ ख़त्म हो सकता था, मगर नहीं क्यों ख़त्म होगा? Because of J-Sai Deepak's band-aid law, which is let's have the blasphemy law for everyone to use. I think what the better option is gun rights. There can be no freedom of speech without self-defense laws properly. And that is one illusion people don't seem to come out of. Freedom of speech is a basic freedom of speech के रहने के लिए a basic requirement is self defense and gun rights. Okay, and I know most people will start saying that no USA, no school shooting. I will debunk all that. I have debunked many times. I will discard those arguments once again, but let me just explain first. If I had sufficient gun rights, what I would do is, if someone disrespects a Hindu god or goddess, anytime I see in the streets or on social media or on a hoarding, I would simply counter it by disrespecting some other god from their religion as a counter measure. अभी आज का जो सिचुएशन है उसमें क्या होगा? When I will respond, मेरा हाल नुपुर शर्मा का हो जाएगा. Instead then, let's just all have guns. Okay? I will disrespect, because you are not having any secular moral ethos. You are going around disrespecting Hindu gods and goddesses, Navayana Buddhist and all. Even they are doing so mostly. So instead, then let me just disrespect your gods. And if you feel that sad and angry enough, come to kill me. I'll just shoot you back. Let's end the matter that way. But J.S. Deepak's band-aid is a huge problem here. Now, let's come to Indian gun rights being compared with USA immediately. Now here I will criticize the people who always give the excuse of American school shootings when we discuss gun liberalization in India, by saying that, remember, even J. Sai Deepak is making a mistake here. See, J. Sai Deepak has actually opened my eyes on this matter, that why are you trying to make India USA? Why are you trying to compare India with USA so much? Just because they have diversity and we also have diversity does not mean India has to operate like USA. Okay, that is his argument, and he has been fiercely critical of the Indian right wing in this topic, that Indian right wingers kind of want to turn India into USA. Okay, now there will be obvious differences between India and USA, and there are definitely some similarities between India and USA. It's not completely similar, it's not completely different. ऐसा नहीं है कि इंडिया एंड यूएसए में कोई भी सिमिलरिटी नहीं है आज के दिन में, बहुत सारे ओवरलैप्स है. I'll get to that some other day. But if you are that vehemently opposed to comparing India with USA, why then should you be interested in comparing USA's disastrous mental health system with India's mental health situation? And that's where one of our biggest differences are. India's mental health and physical health situation, family values, okay, is nowhere as screwed up as USA. Not remotely. Why am I bringing that up? Because USA's school mass shootings, not random mass shootings, not random gun deaths, उन सब में शिकागो सबसे आगे है. What we are specifically afraid of in India is the school mass shootings, okay? School active shooter scenarios. That is happening mainly because of the disastrous mental health situation that they have in USA. And that has happened for many reasons. एक तो है उनका ओपियोइड क्राइसिस. हर पेन किलर ऐसा स्ट्रांग है, सब में इतना ओपियोइड्स है that they become addicted. Everyone is born when their mother is about 40, 45, 50. When you are born in those ages, either the mother is extremely unhealthy mentally or the child is born extremely unhealthy mentally and physically. उसके वजह से अगर कोई डॉक्टर के पास गया तो उसको लाइफ टाइम कुछ ना कुछ बहुत स्ट्रांग दवाई खाना पड़ेगा. And the bigger problem what their therapist and psychiatry industry has done is tying their hands with and doing a handshake with the pharmaceutical industry, is that any small psychology problem, even if it's not a psychology problem, you will be sent to the psychiatrist in the first place. You will be diagnosed with ADHD, bipolarity, etc. And उसके लिए तुमको दवाई दिया जाएगा which will screw up your mind for the rest of your life. You will not be told to go outside and play. ये चीज़ें अभी भी इंडिया में नहीं होता है एंड होना भी नहीं चाहिए, एंड वी हैव टू प्रिवेंट इट, एंड आई थिंक दीज थिंग्स विल बी प्रिवेंटेड इन इंडिया because of so much of pushback against white liberal politics and ideas in India in general. I think these white liberal ideas will also get pushed out. अभी थोड़ा बहुत आ रहा है अर्बन एलिट में, कोलकाता, मुंबई, दिल्ली, पुणे में, मगर बाकी इंडिया में ये पर्कोलेट नहीं करेगा. एंड देयरफॉर बाकी इंडिया का ये डिजास्टर्स मेंटल हेल्थ और फिजिकल हेल्थ कंडीशन नहीं होगा. एंड व्हाट इज माई बेसिस ऑफ पिनिंग द gun deaths and school mass shootings on mental health and not just guns? That is because this law came about, that which is their second amendment right, that came about in 1791. ठीक है, 1791 का law. And if you Google any school mass shooting statistics or graphs, I will just open it on Google as well. You will see that all of those statistics and graphs mysteriously show a chart between 1970 to 2022. One chart I think I found which was before 1950. Okay, before 1970, which starts from 1950. Other than that, all gun deaths and mass shooting deaths are about 1970 to 2022. And then even inside that you will see that 70 से यहाँ लो होके सबसे ज़्यादा बढ़ोतरी हुआ है 2000 after 2010, थोड़ा बहुत after 2000 and mostly after 2010. So what is the core motive that we can see in American society from the late 2000s and especially from 2010? Their obsession with woke politics. Woke politics के part में क्या है? What are the things inside woke politics? Body positivity, obesity, mental health awareness. Okay, everything is a mental health problem now, and for some reason they think the brain is an abstract thing that's roaming about in the sky and it's not connected to your body. Your brain is a goddamn muscle which runs on blood and good food and good blood circulation, etc. Dehydration, I mean hydration, etc. So when the rest of your physique is absolutely screwed because of your work situation or lifestyle choice, so much of gaming and working from home, sitting down and just working for hours, eating just chips and fast food and cold drinks which are extremely high caloric in USA, the standard American diet that is. उसके बाद अगर तुम्हारा ब्रेन गड्ढे में जाए, हाउ कैन यू देन से इट्स जस्ट अ मेंटल हेल्थ इशू, इट्स नॉट अ फिजिकल हेल्थ इशू? ये सब जो स्टुपिडिटी है यूएसए का, ये सब स्टुपिडिटी इंडिया का नहीं है. एंड देयरफॉर लिबरलाइजिंग गन लॉज इन इंडिया डज नॉट इमीडिएटली मीन मास स्कूल शूटिंग स्कूल में शुरू हो जाएगा. नाउ कमिंग टू द टोटल मास गन मास शूटिंग्स एटसेट्रा, most of that is categorized as mass shooting if someone has killed more than 2 people. It's called a mass shooting. वो सब में maximum of those happens in Chicago. Okay, all Democrat run cities and states where Republicans have not even come to power for about 20 years, 30 years. Okay, especially Chicago. These are heavily Democrat states who are completely in favor of gun laws. Chicago has the strictest gun laws. Okay, मेरा power cut भी हो गया. And in those places, the highest gun deaths happen because the main slogan about gun rights, remember, is that when you outlaw guns, only outlaws will have the guns. Okay, and you as an Indian should know this, that this is what you have seen growing up in India, haven't you? Especially if you have been born in a village of Bengal or in UP Bihar. Which criminal in India does not have a gun? How can strong gun laws prevent a criminal from owning a gun? वो criminal है, उसने 50 लॉ तोड़ के बैठ रखा है, और एक 51st वाला लॉ उसको ब्रेक करने में क्या प्रॉब्लम है? जितना भी गन लॉ स्ट्रॉन्ग करो, जो कि क्रिमिनल है उसके पास गन रहेगा ही रहेगा. The only person who will be suffering is Nupur Sharma or people like you and me. Even then Nupur Sharma got a gun license after all, because she's after all a politician and has some great connections. If a normal person applies for a gun, you cannot do that unless you have strong political connections or army background in your family. You will have to apply, your district magistrate will reject it, you will have to sue a district magistrate, your local district magistrate, then you will be allowed to own a gun, which is an absolutely horseshit gun. Okay, you go to Ordnance Factory's website and you'll see the crap that they sell for thousands of rupees. We can't even get a good gun. That's the 70s Amitabh Bachchan का ढिशक्या वाला गन है, ठीक है? तो ऐसा गन हमको लीगली लेना पड़ेगा आफ्टर सुइंग द डिस्ट्रिक्ट मैजिस्ट्रेट, एंड उसके बाद तुमको लोकल पुलिस को बताना पड़ेगा कि क्या क्या है डिटेल्स. रेगुलर तुमको जाके मूवी दिखाना पड़ेगा थाने में, और जब राइट होगा तब तुमको जब राइट होने के वजह से पहले से ही 144 लग जाएगा, तुमको जाके गन सबमिट कर देना है लोकल पुलिस स्टेशन में. तब गन का क्या फायदा इंडिया में? ओके, इवन legally you cannot have a gun in your home legally on the day of a riot for which you might be buying a gun in the first place. Okay, Anushka Tyagi is saying something important here. We cannot substitute incompetence of the state with gun rights. The state needs to have monopoly over the means of violence at all times. We can't outsource it to citizens. It will be disastrous. See, you are 80% right. Why you are 20% wrong is because no state in the history of humanity has been able to eradicate crime 100%, right? So you are saying that 80% of the time, if the 80% is just a bullcrap number, I'm pulling it out of my ass basically, but 100% तो कभी कहीं पे भी नहीं होगा ना. Even if you think that magically India will become the law and order capital of the world, even then लॉ एंड ऑर्डर के बाहर में जो कोई आदमी इलीगली गन अक्वायर करके कोई क्रिमिनल फिर भी किसी को थ्रेटन करेगा या सर्तन से जुदा के लिए मार देगा या ऐसे ही मार देगा, ठीक है, मर्डरर है इसलिए, उसको हम कैसे रोकेंगे? उसको वो पोटेंशियल विक्टिम वो मर्डर होने के पॉइंट पे एट द मोमेंट ही इज फेसिंग द गन, उस पॉइंट पे उस मोमेंट में कौन सा स्टेट आएगा उसको बचाने के लिए? ओके, what is going to happen at that moment? No state power can save you at that moment. At that moment, you should have a gun to take out of your pant and point at that person. क्या तुझे पसंद नहीं है मैंने क्या बोला फेसबुक में? हाँ, अब बोल क्या बोलना है. Think of all the people who have died because of political violence, and think of all the people who are, I mean, anyone who takes part in political violence deserves to get a violent response. But people like Abhijit Sarkar, okay, the BJP guy who was a animal rights activist, used to feed countless dogs, used to have countless adopted stray dogs in his house, okay. Political violence has been the bread and butter of countless politicians in India, and even in Bengal that was bound to be the case. But on that day, when Trinamool people apparently came to, even charge sheet has been given, when they came to beat up his stray puppies, and they beat to death about 5 to 6 newborn puppies, and then beat him to death in such a way that his parents could not recognize his face. What do you think would have been the response of the Trinamool party workers if he had just brought out his gun? He should have had that right. Okay. There's no other argument here in terms of the justification of owning a gun for a person who does not deserve to get killed. And nor do the kids in the schools of USA deserve to get killed, but that is the side effect of their screwing up their entire society. Many countries have many unsolvable problems. Even Pakistan has many unsolvable problems. See, what's the difference between a guy in a government and me? I am doing armchair quarterbacking, right? I'm giving ideas that are randomly coming off the top of my head. I don't have full data about any inner workings of USA or Pakistan. But even so a lot of solutions that we can give as YouTubers or viewers on the YouTube, a lot of them are impractical in real life. But even in that way, I cannot come up with a solution for Pakistan today. I don't know how they are going to solve this problem. And I don't know how USA is going to solve their mental health crisis. So far, I'm listening to their white, black conservatives and black people from their lower middle class backgrounds, even who are Democrats. They are still saying, no, we need these gun rights for our safety. When I come to my black neighborhood, which is full of crime at the after 8 p.m., 9 p.m., I want to have that gun. And I completely understand that as an Indian, or especially as a Hindu in West Bengal. Okay, 27% was the Muslim population of West Bengal in 2011. What do you think it is in 2023? Okay, and how safe do you think people are if they open their mouth? How safe even do you think journalists are? So I don't know why USA's mass school shootings justify Abhijit Sarkar's death here when he could have easily defended himself. Okay. Now let's get to why I think Noam Chomsky is... So to conclude this point, if India has more liberalized gun laws, we can all be armed. And if you say that no, then you are more unsafe because then any Middle Eastern colonizer, homie, brother can come and kill you. In that case, use your law and order excuse. Okay, you were saying that law and order should be so strong that you should not even need a gun. I am saying, yes, make law and order as strong as possible so that even when I have a gun, no criminal with a gun dares to come and kill me. All I'm saying is, if I'm taking into account that law and order will not be 100% successful. If you say 100% successful hoga law and order magically kabhi na kabhi, then it's even better. Then I'll stay happily with my gun in my home, or the criminal who wants to kill me also will stay in his home with his gun. Law and order अच्छा है, तो हम दोनों ही गन लेके बैठे रखते हैं, ठीक है. Or are you saying that law and order is not going to be fully potent only when both of us have guns, the potential victim and the potential perpetrator? Tab jaake you will say that no, law and order is bad, therefore you are more vulnerable in front of a Muslim who wants to kill you. I'm saying no, trust the law and order now, or don't trust it at all and let's everyone have guns. Okay, Binay Singh is saying, let's see, what are your comments, Aniket Gautam? ये मिलेच पत्थर से इतना प्रॉब्लम कर देता है, गन से तो इंसर्जेंसी चालू कर देंगे. यूएसए डोंट हैव दैट मुस्लिम पॉपुलेशन. यस, मुस्लिम पॉपुलेशन होता भी तो क्या होता, मुस्लिम पॉपुलेशन होता तो क्या सब मुस्लिम जाके यहाँ वहाँ पे क्रिश्चियंस मारने लगते? वो नहीं होता, क्योंकि सबके पास वहाँ पे गन है. और नहीं तो ये हमारा लॉ एंड ऑर्डर है, लॉ एंड ऑर्डर बचाएगा तुम्हें. ओके, अनुष्का त्यागी इज मेकिंग अ पॉइंट विच आई नीड टू रिफ्यूट हियर. शी इज सेइंग वी मे रिवाइव इंडियन मार्शल आर्ट्स एंड नॉन लीथल वेपन्स, बट लीगलाइजेशन sale of gun is extremely tricky. What if they fall in the wrong hands? Exactly my point. Where do you think they are right now? Do you think the wrong hands don't have a gun? Can you name one wrong hand in the entire country who does not have a gun? Can you name one political gunda in the entire country who does not have a gun? Lakhs and lakhs of illegal guns are owned by lakhs and lakhs of wrong hands. Who does not have the gun? The right hands. Let the right hands have the gun so that the wrong hands can't do anything to them. Because law and order to problem hai hi. If you are saying that law and order is a problem, then I'm saying yes, improve law and order, but before that let me have my gun. If even after having my gun, there's so much of a law and order issue that people go around shooting other people, then that only points out to the failure of the law and order again. Okay. Okay, Aniket Gautam. Wait, I wanted to make another point. Yeah, see, in terms of Anushka Tyagi's martial art point. See, I'm a big proponent of learning martial arts. Don't get me wrong. Martial arts is great. बंदूक के सामने कोई martial art बचाएगा नहीं, ठीक है? The first and foremost self-defense tactic is running away from a situation. कितना देर रन करोगे? जो लोग handicapped है वो कैसे रन करेंगे? घर के अंदर कहाँ पे दौड़ोगे? Those are the issues. On the street, running away is your best self-defense. Next self-defense is gun. If you don't have a gun, yes, you can. If someone beats you up, then you don't need to take out your gun. Okay. Someone puts a hand on you, you put a hand back on them. Martial art बचा लेगा तुमको. जो बंदूक निकालेगा उसके सामने क्या करें? उसके सामने कौन सा क्या नाम है साउथ इंडिया का वो मार्शल आर्ट जो कि आजकल डांस फॉर्म बन गया है बेसिकली, कलरीपयत्तू. बंदूक निकालेगा तुम, कलरीपयत्तू करके क्या करोगे? Okay, wrong hands excuse is not really legitimate because the wrong hands already have already have the guns. Binay Singh is saying, read my comment on halalnomics. Halalnomics is ruling the world. If Hindu make the economic model out of their philosophy, they would have ruled the world like Islamists did halalnomics. It is $8 trillion. Yeah, that's a good point. Okay, Nina is saying, how will we control how much ammunition and how many guns one holds? If one particular group en masse gathers large numbers of guns, would other groups with less unity survive? This feels dangerous, to be honest. I'll tell you why it's that's not the case, because जो potential है, that is already being used by the other side. Okay, ये जो particular group mass gathering large numbers of guns, ये already है. बंगाल में 37,000 tons का बम कैप्चर हुआ NI के हाथों just some days back. Okay, people who want to kill you will always find an illegal way to kill you. You just have to find a legal way to defend yourself. Legal defense क्या है यहाँ पे? कराटे. Yeah, I mean any real martial art as well, not just karate. But martial art तुम्हें नहीं बचाएगा बंदूक के सामने, क्योंकि जो लोग तुम्हें मारना चाहते हैं उनके पास वैसे भी बंदूक होगा. Harish Ravi saying judging Manusmriti without reading it is nothing but mental weakness. Reading the worst possible scriptures is a job of some mentally weaks. Acha, nice debate here. Pranam Dada, onek din pod. Yes, onek din pod. Okay, now we will get into why Noam Chomsky is basically wrong on everything he has ever said, and why I think J-Sai Deepak and especially J-Sai Deepak fans should not give much crap about him. Noam Chomsky, Patrick Bet David. So I read a comment somewhere which is basically ideal, that Noam Chomsky is a superstar when it comes to linguistics, but he is a mental patient when it comes to politics. And how much he is an expert on linguistics, even that can be questioned, because anytime an entire subject, entire field of study is dedicated to just one person, and everyone is just criticizing that one person, or half of the people in that field are appreciating and saying that yeah, this person is our deity in that field, then there's plenty of reason to doubt that person's validity anyway, because it's again a Abrahamic kind of monotheistic love that people have for linguists have for Noam Chomsky, and considering his ideas the soul good ideas, etc. That's the same problem with Karl Marx. Your ideas should have reach with multiple people. Lag हो गया क्या? Okay, hilarious internet connection today. Yeah, let me just cast it here. It's best that we don't have band-aid policies and instead have a truly free speech policy and a truly self-defense policy. We don't have any self-defense policies today. You are not allowed to save yourself from getting killed. Every remotely criminal person in India has an illegal gun. Who am I waiting for? बहुत सारा लैग हो रहा है क्या आज? नहीं तो आज बंद कर देते हैं यहाँ पे लाइव स्ट्रीम. नेक्स्ट डे वी विल डिस्कस J-Sai Deepak's views on Noam Chomsky. What do you say? I think too much of lag is happening. I don't know what's the problem.
If somebody taught at MIT for 60 years, that's what my guest did today, Mr. Noam Chomsky, who also has written over 150 books. He's a famed American linguist. Some call him the father of modern linguists. He's a philosopher, cognitive scientist, historian, social critic, political activist. And with that being said, Professor Noam, thank you so much for being a guest on Valuetainment.
Glad to be with you.
So I got a lot of different notes, and I'm trying to see what angle to take with you, but I'll get right into it. If you don't mind taking a moment, and for the few viewers that maybe don't know you, there's a lot of interesting ways people describe you. You're described as the aligning with anarcho-syndicalism and libertarian socialism. Can you just give us an idea about what some of your beliefs philosophically, politically, and economically are?
There was classical liberalism came to grief because it was undermined by the rise of capitalism. But the basic ideas of classical liberalism, namely that...
Okay, just a clarification once again that J-Sai Deepak said that his criticism of USA is so great, then why is his criticism of Hinduism, India so wrong when it comes to Kashmir and Pakistan, India, etc. Okay, and for the reason for that is that his criticisms of USA is also pretty wrong, and I think J-Sai Deepak doesn't fully understand his criticisms of USA because J-Sai Deepak has not spent a lot of time understanding the American conservative viewpoint. I think J-Sai Deepak is making the same mistake when it comes to USA, which Noam Chomsky is making, or a lot of American conservatives are making when it comes to India. These people, all these people, while commenting on another country's politics, they are listening to only the liberals and leftists of that country. Okay, Jay Deepak is listening to Noam Chomsky's criticism of USA and therefore thinking, yeah, it's such a great argument. And when American conservatives talk about India, Hinduism, all they can say is a caste system. Today I was seeing Eric Weinstein's wife on Dave Rubin's podcast. She says India used to be such a great secular country. अब Hindu fundamentalist आके गड्ढे में डाल दिया देश. Okay, Eric Weinstein is one of the biggest opposers of the woke culture, and even his wife, who is on that side of the conversation these days, even that woman who grew up in India, when it comes to India's Hindutva politics, trusts the leftist sources. So stop trusting leftist sources, I'm saying to everyone, from Jay Deepak to Eric Weinstein's wife, Dave Rubin, Ben Shapiro, everyone. All of these people, when it comes to criticizing the other country or talking about the other country, all of a sudden New York Times, NDTV becomes the source. Okay, that should not be the case. Listen to both sides, and I have listened to both sides from 2016, and I can refute any of Noam Chomsky or random SFI's criticisms of USA. The actual criticisms I make of USA, a lot of that is in India's leftists as well, and they can't help themselves in that case.
People should be not subjected to the domination of masters, should be free to determine their own fate, should be work together in association to make a better world. All of this remained, but outside the framework of mainstream ideology. And libertarian socialism is the standard term in Europe for what is here sometimes called anarchism, which tried to realize.
Okay, first and foremost, Noam Chomsky identifies as an anarcho-syndicalist. Okay, there are anarchists on both sides. There are leftist anarchists and right-wing anarchists, which is anarcho-capitalism, which is the libertarian kind of anarchism, which says that there's no need for government, and there's so much a lack of need for governance that government is so unimportant that the market can run everything, and everyone can just become a part of the market and function as a freelancer or a service provider or a business owner. You don't need a government to meddle in any of these things, and whatever roads and stuff that needs to be built, every state to state or city to city can come together on a neighborhood basis and do what's good for them. There are different pros and cons of these arguments, and the leftist anarchist idea is that the state is inherently bad, the market is inherently bad, only good thing is the unions, okay, trade unions, etc. And we as Indians know what trade unions have gotten us, especially in West Bengal. We know the result of trade unionism, and Noam Chomsky is a follower, is a believer of that. He is an anarcho-syndicalist. He believes in syndicates running. Okay. Nina is saying Chomsky is similar to Tharoor in some ways. His talking points were, yes, this is exactly what we discussed in our today's membership video. No, these are post-colonial people though. These are Marxist post-colonialists who will say that yes, state is bad, capitalism is bad, British colonization was bad. Uske pehla kya tha? Wo bhi bad. Okay, let's continue.
The ideas of the Enlightenment and classical liberalism, basically the idea that authority and domination are not self-justifying. They have to justify themselves. And if they can't, which is usually the case, they should be dismantled in terms of more free and participatory societies. So the great 19th century theorist of classical liberalism, John Stuart Mill, held that in industry and the economy generally, the natural form to which a civilized society should develop is self-management by associations of workers in production, by people in community, and so on, without any arbitrary hegemonic authority.
Got it. So, almost all of us who create our own set of beliefs, whether it's spiritual, political, philosophical, economical, there's somebody that influenced us, whether it's, hey, I read von Mises. Oh my gosh, great stuff. I'm a capitalist. I read Ayn Rand. I totally get why I'm more like a libertarian. Or I read Karl Marx. The guy's got some good arguments when you think about what's being done. I read who were some of the folks that influenced you the most?
Actually, the people who influenced me the most are people whose names will never be known, people on the front lines of the struggles for justice and for freedom.
Okay, this is an important point that deserves to be debunked. He is asked a serious question, but a humble, nice softball question, that who were your heroes, who inspired you? Okay, and he uses that question to give off basically a virtue signaling answer. What is virtue signaling? There is something technical called signal theory, wherein you are doing something to only be appreciated for coming across as doing that thing, even though you are actually doing that thing or not. That is signal theory. You're just signaling that I'm saying or I am that way. Okay, and therefore that the extension of that is virtue signaling. Now यहाँ पे virtue signaling क्या होता है? Patrick Bet-Dewitt is asking that who are your heroes? हमारा Noam Chomsky says that I didn't need influencers or heroes. My heroes, my inspirations are people whose names will never be known. Okay, that is such an absolutely crap and disingenuous and unimportant answer. It's not unimportant, I'm talking about it, but I don't want to give any gali. That's why I'm having a little bit of trouble choosing my words. But these are absolute bullcrap answers. Okay, how can nameless people, how can people you don't know inspire you? Who motivated Noam Chomsky for the first time to write a book, or come up with this idea, or come up with the name anarcho-syndicalism or something, or come up with anything he has come up? Did he imagine, okay, there were some unknown faces creating the pyramid of Egypt? That person has really made me inspired to write this book. Okay, that never works. Some person or a group of persons who did something great definitely encourage you and inspire you to take up any endeavor you want. But Noam Chomsky, being a leftist, and a leftist being full of virtue signaling and not real work, being that, Noam Chomsky does exactly that. And this is why we need to be very careful about J. Sai Deepak finding respect for Noam Chomsky. He does not give a correct or a sane answer. He gives a virtue signaling answer. मुझे किसी का ज़रूरत नहीं था. I was inspired by faceless people who did great things, whose names we'll never know. What kind of, this is movie dialogue or what?
Take, say, the American for justice and for freedom. Take, say, the American civil rights movement. If you ask about the civil rights movement, the name that comes to mind is Martin Luther King, who was a great figure. Highly respect him. But he would have been the first to tell you that he was riding on a groundswell that was prepared by others.
Yes, he's right here, but that was not his question. Now he's associating a parallel fact to justify his previous statement. He's saying, yes, see, even Martin Luther King Jr. would have himself said that he is not the sole prime mover of that entire civil rights movement. There was a giant groundswell as well who propelled him on the wave. नहीं, मगर inspire किसने किया? Okay, who inspired anyone to talk about Martin Luther King or to go to join civil rights later? Martin Luther King himself? Or before Martin Luther King, who inspired those people? Some other people? Jesus or some local pastor? Everyone got inspired in that chain of events by some person or the other. Noam Chomsky wants to prove that he is so above all these things that he is not inspired by any person or their achievements. He is inspired by the unnamed, the faceless people who are part of any mass undertaking.
Young SNCC workers, whose names you don't know, who were riding freedom buses in Alabama to try to encourage black farmers to dare to go to vote in the face of lynch mobs and brutal sheriffs and so on. Many of them suffered, some were killed. Those are the kind of people who I think we should respect and honor. We rarely even know their names. And there are people like that all over the world. Much of what they do is very inspiring. I can't find any higher inspiration than that.
What books maybe, and that was very helpful to share that because it makes me think, but what books did you read as a young man coming up? Because it seems like a lot of your
Yeah, Nina, Justice and Freedom.
philosophy was established very early on. And I know, you know, in one of your books, you talk about how you grew up as a center leftist, more on like the FDR political type of a range where you were with your family. But what books were they when you read and you said, this just makes a lot of sense? Why aren't people understanding this? Were there any books that impacted you?
So many that I can't list them, but ranging across the spectrum.
Yeah, now when it comes to books, he says that there are so many books, I can't name them. He could have said the same thing in terms of the human personalities as well, but he thought that was beneath him. Books maybe, well, okay, there are so many unwritten books which have inspired me.
So ranging from when I was a young teenager, from Bertrand Russell's History of Philosophy to pamphlets by uneducated workers, people with peasants without formal education in Spain during the anarchist revolution, who recorded what they were doing to collectivize their own villages and take control of their lives. Things that I was picking up in anarchist bookstores in 4th Avenue, New York, where I used to go as a young teenager. So a whole range of things.
Got it. Who were you in high school? If you and I were 16 years old in high school together, I'm sitting next to you, I go to school with you for 2 years, who would have people said who Noam was at 16, 17 years old?
So see the basic tone of the interview so far, which will go on basically. Patrick Bet-David is trying to be a nice guy, nice host, nice interviewer to a man who is very old. He keeps so far giving cool dialogues, and then later he will go on to disrespecting and deliberately using words that are nothing but deliberately disrespectful. They are not. They cannot be justified as just simply making an argument. He will make points with words which are definitely meant to disrespect people or the host in this case.
In high school?
In high school, who were you in high school?
In high school, I was sort of a loner, had a couple of friends. Some of them remained friends till the end of their lives, just a couple of years ago. But not many. Mostly I kept to myself, and I was involved in lots of intensive political activities in a different area. Most of my own engagements, direct engagements at the time, had to do with what was then the Zionist movement. Now it would be called anti-Zionist.
Yeah. Here is the first giveaway, okay?
With what was then
check
the
out
Zionist
that
movement. Now it would be called.
He was part of a group of people who are Jews, but they are against the state of Israel, okay? Judaism rejects Zionism. These are the kinds of people who you see in the cities of India. You know that there are many Hindus who reject Hindutva, right? This is that. Noam Chomsky is part of that kind of thinking and that kind of cabal, whose criticism of USA has impressed Deepak. But that should not be our goal, and that should not be a reference point. Then you can say that enemy's enemy is my friend, etc. But see, and you can criticize me for agreeing with so many points with American conservatives, okay? So why should I criticize you for agreeing with a lot of American leftists? Because first and foremost, let's just ignore the fact that there are currently overlaps and similarity in problems that are being faced by American conservatives, European conservatives, and Indian conservatives, and Israel. Okay, wo chhod do. Even if that is not the case, you must remember that conservatives of everywhere want their country to remain intact, and they want what's best for their country. At least they think what's best for their country, etc. Because they are mainly nationalists. Leftists everywhere are against their country, and they have an innate disposition to hating their country right from their academic school, college and graduation, post-graduation, PhD life, right up to when they become a teacher and write books or become talk show hosts. Okay, so when you are aligning yourself or listening to a leftist for the criticisms of that country, you are most probably, more often than not, listening to complete lies or fallacies. And how should you know that? Listen to the leftists of your own country. If the leftists of your own country can be so wrong on India and Hinduism, why do you think the American leftists are so intelligent, insanely great and brilliant that their criticisms of US is all of a sudden absolutely correct? How is that going to be possible? So, the better option is that you listen to American conservatives, you listen to American leftists, if you really want to follow American politics, that is. If you don't care about American politics, it's fine. But if you really want to draw conclusions on USA, listen to both sides and then see what their problems are. And you'll very easily see the things that even the American conservatives end up getting wrong. And there are huge differences in the opinions of American conservatives as well. The conservative establishment, the Republican establishment, they did not want Donald Trump to win. Okay, Donald Trump is an anti-war president. He did the Abraham Accords. In any other world, he would have gotten a Nobel Peace Prize. The only reason he did not get a Nobel Peace Prize by Nobel Peace Prize standards is because he is white. Okay. So you don't have to agree completely with American conservatives, but listen to their opinion in order to really find out about the country. Just as you would want, as a pro-Hindutva person, for people outside India to find out about India. Would you want non-Indians to find out about India from Arundhati Roy? Then, if you don't want that, it's absolutely wrong of anyone to understand USA from the mouth of Noam Chomsky.
Called anti-Zionist. And this is before the State of Israel was formed.
Yes, Anushka Tyagi. Chomsky is a self-loathing Jew. Exactly.
We're talking about the early 40s. And I was involved with groups that were working towards developing a binational Arab-Jewish cooperative community.
Binational Arab-Jewish coalition. See how naive he is? This should be the first giveaway. Any person who thinks there can be a binational agreement or a peace agreement between Arabs and Jews, especially back in those days. Okay, now Trump has done it with his power, etc., with his who knows what deals he has made. He's talking about just ground up, just friendliness between Israel and the Arab world. What naive world does he live in? Which is why you should understand that he is just another self-hating Jew. Just like a Hindu in India does not think that Hinduism or Hindus are threat at all. In the same way, Noam Chomsky does not seem to be aware of the possible harms that Israel is in. Surrounded by enemies all around, each and every side, Israel has enemies. And he's talking about a bilateral partnership between Arabs and Israel.
Based on working class cooperation between Palestinian and Jewish workers. That ideal, bits and pieces of it were realized, but most of it changed radically.
Okay, SRS is making an important point here. He's saying that Deepak did not say he likes Chomsky. He just replied to a question that with which leftist would you agree with? Okay, if he had just said that he is a leftist with whom I have some agreements, that would have been fine. You can have agreements with almost everyone on earth, which is why newspaper, magazines ka zodiac sign, everyone who reads a zodiac sign in the morning, they feel like, yes, it's absolutely about them. But if you read all the other signs and advices for that day and the predictions for that day, you will see that, yes, even those seem to be applying to you, because those are written with general predictions, with general what's bound to happen in someone's life anyway. Okay, so I would not have a problem with Desai Deepak if he said that, yes, he's just a leftist with whom I have some agreements. I have a problem with Desai Deepak saying, or anyone saying, that Noam Chomsky's criticism of USA needs to be taken seriously, and then also being surprised at why doesn't he then understand the Hindu point of view or the Indian point of view when it comes to Kashmir and Pakistan. It is for the same reason, because he's so wrong on USA, therefore he's also wrong on India and Hindutva as well. Even Eric Weinstein's wife, I was shocked. She says हिंदू fundamentalism हो रहा है इंडिया में, cow murders, cow lynchings, ये सब बोल रही है वो.
1948. But that was the main activities I was in then, and in many ways still am. That's lasted through my life. And if you ask about influences, a lot of the people who influenced me were people writing at that time in Hebrew. People like great essayist Ahad Am, who was committed to a form of what he called cultural Zionism, a Zionist recreation of a cultural center in Palestine, which would reinvigorate Jewish culture for the entire diaspora, and who wrote eloquently, in fact, that the incoming settlers will have to pay attention to the fact, they can't ignore the fact, that this country is settled by Palestinians. We're going to live with them. We're going to deal with them on an equal basis. We have to be integrated with them into the world that we're creating. That's the turn of the century, 1900.
So you've been a true believer for a very, very long time. A true believer, very long time in your philosophy.
Okay, some important points have come here. Ninad is saying, haha, he is like those Indians who want peace with Pakistan. Yes, he is absolutely like those people. Then Binay Singh is saying that does Chomsky plagiarize Abhinav Gupta? His idea on language seems very similar to Abhinav Gupta philosophy. Might have been.
Can you remember when it was when your philosophies were core to the point where nobody could change your mind on certain set of philosophies that you had?
I've never reached that point. But we should always be open-minded, willing to listen to new ideas and arguments.
Right.
But my own, I wouldn't even.
Okay. What he's saying is factually correct. I don't know if he follows it, but he seems to say a nice and correct thing that you should always have an open mind. तो ये कैसा ओपन माइंड है जो कि 90 सालों से लेफ्टिस्ट ही रह गया, एंड ये कैसा ओपन माइंड है जो कि इजराइल का समस्या ना समझ पाया, ये कैसा ओपन माइंड है हु डज नॉट अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट इंडियाज प्रॉब्लम इज विथ पाकिस्तान और व्हाट कश्मीर्स हिस्ट्री इज with Pakistan. Okay, ये है open mind का नमूना.
Call it a philosophy. My own general points of view about the nature of life were formed as early as I can remember. I grew up in the Depression, so there was really deep poverty. My own family elsewhere, and those scenes stay with me. Miserable people coming to the door trying to sell rags, something like that. These are indelible memories, and I've now seen it all over the world. That's the kind of place I gravitate to, whether it's in southern Colombia or eastern Turkey or refugee camps in Lebanon or many other places where I've gone. Or right here in the United States. You don't have to go very far to see it.
Most of the world has only seen that in movies. You watch the movies, and the only way you can get a depiction of what happened in the Great.
Okay, now he's talking about the Great Depression era.
Depression. Let me go watch a movie, and then maybe I'll get an idea of it. I mean, I was born and raised in Iran, and I lived there for 10 years, and the war happened between Iran and Iraq. I remember it clearly. And then going to Germany, living at a refugee camp for a couple of years, and seeing what that was.
The interviewer here is an Iranian immigrant he's a Christian Iranian immigrant to USA. He served in the US Air Force. He was not born here. He is now an American conservative patriot, etc. Now listen to what Noam Chomsky says when Patrick Bet-David says that the country gave me these opportunities, etc. Listen to Noam Chomsky's criticism of that.
It was like a small little camp we had, and then finally coming to the States. So living in Iran, I grew up watching folks going across the street, protesting, flagellating their backs with a streak of blood on the ground, screaming out death upon America. I witnessed that as a kid for 10 years. Obviously not from the day I was born, say from 4 years. And
Okay. Aniket Gautam is saying Bernie Sanders or George Soros wali baat kar raha hai. Yes, everyone. When it comes to Kashmir and India, sabko New York Times pasand hai.
5 years old, earliest memories, you would see them. And as a kid, that kind of leaves a mark, kind of like what you saw on the Great Depression side. But there was also another community that loved America and wanted to come to America for the freedoms it offered. Everybody, I think, has a different definition of what America means to them. What does America mean to you?
It means many different things, ranging from some of the worst crimes in human history, like the most vicious system of slavery that was ever created,
Okay, now the fun part begins, where I'll have lots of chances to refute Noam Chomsky. But first, let's check out Anushka Tyagi's comment here. She's saying that I think J.S.I. Deepak agrees with Chomsky on self-managed and self-sustaining community units and shit like that. Because I remember J.S.I. Deepak talked about self-regulating and self-sustaining temple village community ecosystem. And for that, there's no way, no absolute reason there is to listen to a communist for that. A communist agrees with that for reasons which will not let us have that in India. Communists don't believe in the need for a temple. Communists don't believe in God. Communists hate the idea of God, religion, temple, everything. So the reason why they need a self-sustaining situation, etc., association, syndicate, etc., that is completely different from why we want those things. It's not even for the same things. Okay. Marx and leftists have come up with these ideas because they are inherently jealous and have a skewed and have an inherently a negative view of everything. That's Michel Foucault's view as well. But that everything is based on power, etc. There's no such thing called competence or love in the world. There's only power and power dominance, etc. We did not have a temple economy for those reasons. We had it for completely different reasons, and therefore, is just because there's an overlap, I don't have to show any respect to Noam Chomsky or his views.
Which still, its legacy is very much with it, including the virtual extermination.
हाँ, तो यूएसए के बारे में पैट्रिक बेट डेविड ने डायरेक्टली पूछा पॉइंट ब्लैंक, तो हिज फर्स्ट रिप्लाई इज ऑब्वियसली दैट स्लेवरी इतना ज़्यादा हो गया यूएसए में. ओके.
What does America mean to you?
Means many different things, ranging from some of the worst crimes in human history, like the most vicious system of slavery.
Okay, most vicious system of slavery USA का है, that is not the case. Okay. Romanis and Indians who were taken away in Hindu Kush, across the Hindu Kush mountains, who still populate large parts of Arabia, Middle East, etc., West Asia. Okay, people whose ancestry can't even be traced to India, maybe only except with DNA tests. Okay, African Americans to this date know that they are from Africa at least. Okay, they have a way to use that as an excuse, etc. Yemenis can't even say that. They might look like a random kirana store owner in Mumbai, but there's no conversation today even possible regarding the Indians who were taken away as slaves, because of the number of slaves who were taken away from India and all the things that happened to them. Not to mention that even the Romanis had a genocide against them from Hitler, and even Jews did not speak up about it, etc. Lots of problems. So anyway, सारा का सारा स्लेवरी प्रॉब्लम यूएसए का ही है. उसके अलावा किसी ने स्लेवरी नहीं किया, और किया भी तो बहुत थोड़ा कम स्लेवरी किया. दैट इज एन एब्सोल्युटली रॉन्ग आर्ग्यूमेंट. एंड इवन in Roman courts, there are records of discussions between them about Caucasian white slaves from other parts of Europe, and they are saying that we don't want these slaves because they are so stupid and you can't even train them properly. That's a conversation going on in a Roman court, okay, about other white slaves. Okay, so slavery was there everywhere, especially Hindus. More importantly, if today I say that no, see, Hindus were taken away as slaves by Muslims, what will Noam Chomsky's reply be then? Is he going to support me? He's not going to, because he's disingenuous, he's dishonest, he's part of a cult with full of echoes all around him. So I won't buy his argument of America's slavery being the biggest problem of humanity. And remember, most black people were sold off as slaves by other black tribes who captured them in local wars, then sold them off to the local white businessmen who came on their shores.
That was ever created, which still, its legacy is very much with it, including the virtual extermination of the indigenous population at one extreme, at the other extreme, breaking new barriers in popular democracy, developing the concept of we the people, which was a revolutionary concept in the 18th century, moving on to protecting freedom of speech to a degree that's unknown elsewhere. So a mixture of extreme.
Okay. Freedom of speech, जो कि कहीं पे नहीं हुआ है. This is the point just made by Noam Chomsky. And why is that? What else is significantly an American thing which is not there anywhere else? That is their gun right. Okay, gun right है, इसलिए उतना freedom of speech possible हुआ है अमेरिका में. You can't look at these things in isolation. Like Bernie Sanders says that the richest most prosperous country in the world, उसमें इतना कम सैलरी का है. अरे वो richest prosperous है क्योंकि तुम्हारा बात किसी ने नहीं सुना 200 सालों से, इसलिए. तो you can't appreciate one thing and then discard the thing that which led that thing to happen. Okay, अगर गन राइट्स नहीं रहता यूएसए में तो फ्री स्पीच भी नहीं रहता. कोई ना कोई क्रिमिनल आके किसी ना किसी को हर वक्त गोली से उड़ा देता क्योंकि उसके पास गन नहीं रहता लीगली, और उसने उसको गुस्सा दिला दिया. A polite society is an armed society, an armed society is a polite society. वो एक मजेदार स्लोगन है, but it's true.
Extreme horrors and exciting achievements.
Which achievements to you would you say are some of the best achievements America's had as a nation?
The pioneering from the 18th century of mass public democracy. It's been a struggle all the way. The founding fathers were strongly opposed to it. The Constitution as an aristocratic doctrine which seeks to marginalize the general public. But then come constant struggles, constant all through the years, to try to provide some real meaning to the concept we the people. When I talked about snake workers in Alabama, that's one kind of contribution. When you talk about young people from the Sunrise Movement occupying congressional offices today to try to get Congress to move towards taking steps that will save the human species from self-destruction, that's another kind of step. So you see these things all the way through history. If you like, it's a kind of sharp class war being fought constantly. And you have both sides. It's not contradictions, they're opposing forces. And that's the course of history. So you can see horrors. Iran is a case in point. You can take a look at the memoirs of General Robert Heuser, who was dispatched by President Carter to carry out a military coup in Iran in 1979. You can see the blurb by Zbigniew Brzezinski, Carter's national security advisor, who says, yes, this vindicates him. If a military coup had been carried out, maybe killing who knows how many people, we could have maintained the rule of the Shah, who the U.S. imposed in 1953, overthrowing Iran's parliamentary democracy. So you can see that. You can see other things.
Yeah, I mean that was, so you were not supportive of what Carter did to not help the Shah at a time where they kept saying it's going to be all right, it's going to be all right, it's going to be all right, and then obviously there was a fall of the Shah. You supported the Shah, meaning you would have liked it to stay the way it was?
That's a different question. Once he was ousted, the question is, how should he be treated? I felt, despite his enormous crimes, and they were terrible, he should be treated humanely. But that's a separate question from the Carter-Brzezinski plan to carry out a military coup. Actually, this was described openly by Israel's de facto ambassador to Iran, who publicly announced in 1979 that Israel had very close relations with the Shah, that what's needed in Iran is a bloody military coup which may kill 10,000 people, but that will suppress the uprising and restore the tyrannical rule of the Shah. That's what they had in mind. Well, I'm opposed to that, but I'm in favor of treating the tyrant humanely once he was ousted.
Interesting. I mean, if you study it a little bit deeper, I'm from there, so I put a little bit more time into that specific topic. It was also the 25-year contract, the oil between France, Germany, UK, and I'm sure you're aware of this with US, where they were not happy about the fact that the Shah was about to raise the prices. And 1979 was a specific year when the prices was going to go up. So they had a private meeting in...
Okay, Nina is saying Americans can't go 2 minutes without saying freedom. Yes, but that's mainly what American conservatives say. Leftists don't say that. Leftists hate their country, no. SRS is saying that JSI can't have agreement with Noam, because he is a free market and entrepreneurship guy, Deepak. I think Sai only wants to use his anti-imperial criticism of USA, but after Trump, some Republicans have become isolationist. Most Republicans have become isolationist, which is why most Republicans today are supporters of Donald Trump. Okay, don't forget that. But what I'm saying is that why do I need Noam Chomsky's criticisms of USA when they are definitely bound to be wrong in the same way that leftists of India get the criticisms of India wrong? I have many criticisms of the Indian government. I have criticisms of Indian society. I don't need Arundhati Roy for that. Isn't it? You are trusting a person to criticize USA honestly. Okay. And you should not do that when it comes to a leftist.
South or Central America to figure out a way to make this strategy was four nations wanting to make sure he didn't stay in power the way he did. So it was extremely strategic, but it's interesting to see the fact that you still want the individual to be treated in a humane way. You know, if I read some of your books, like if I read Who Rules the World, the book that you wrote, Who Rules the World, if I watch your documentary, if I watch some of our interviews, if I go watch you and William Buckley have a debate, if I go watch any of the stuff that you've done a lot of work, your catalog of work is very wide and very deep. I don't get the most positive feeling about America. Almost, if I had someone who was not an individual who had spent a lot of time wanting to study the history of America, say I have 50 students here and I have 50 students here, neither one of them have ever studied the history of America. If I gave them your material to read and study for a year, I'm willing to bet most of them after you would probably hate America. You know, a lot of the things that I read, it doesn't come across as there is that love of what a great country America is. For you, and you make a lot of good arguments in your books. I'm watching to see what your points are on this. Okay, this makes sense. I see where he's going with this. Do you still, maybe it's not even still, do you think America has or is ever been the greatest country in the world?
There's no such concept as the greatest country in the world.
कम्युनिज्म ने अपना मास्क उतार दिया है, ठीक है? कम्युनिस्ट ने, okay, he is not a communist, he's a leftist, he's not even a Marxist apparently. But there is no such thing as the greatest country. This should be the first precaution against anyone outside in USA listening to him for critiques of American society. A person who does not even believe in the concept of a great country or greatest country, वो क्या क्रिटिसाइज करेगा, वो क्या गुड फेथ में आर्ग्यू करेगा, कॉन्वर्स करेगा, वो झूठ ही बोलेगा, वो चेरी पिक ही करेगा, वो निट पिक ही करेगा, वो स्टैटिस्टिकल फैलेसी ही निकालेगा. और है तो लेफ्टिस्ट. स्टैटिस्टिकल फैलेसी इनका ब्रेड एंड बटर है.
Just as there is no greatest human being in the world, countries have many complex characters.
See, greatest country नहीं है, क्यों? क्योंकि greatest human being नहीं है कोई. We don't know who's the greatest human being much because we have not thought about it much, but greatest country is a very easily answerable question. Greatest country does not mean the most perfect possible utopia that you can possibly imagine in your mind. Greatest country sentence का मतलब है कि आज के दिन में सबसे ज़्यादा सेफ्टी, सबसे ज़्यादा इकोनॉमिक प्रॉस्पेरिटी, सबसे ज़्यादा लाइफस्टाइल ऑप्शंस एट्सेट्रा, चॉइसेस, फ्रीडम्स, लिबर्टी, हेल्थ केयर, ये सब मिला के तोल मोल करके सबसे अच्छा कहाँ है, कौन सा जगह है, ये था प्रश्न. ये प्रश्न के उत्तर देने में इसने फिर से चॉम्स्की ने फिर से फिल्मों के डायलॉग देने चालू कर दिए. उसके मुंह से नहीं निकलेगा कि USA might be the greatest country on earth or any other country. If he would have made the case, I would have been fine with it. But he's saying there is no such thing called there's a greatest country on earth. Okay, then you know what's the obvious argument. This is the argument also leftists make that, oh, let me tell you guys this funny story. A few days back, I had this argument with a leftist friend of the family. He's very old. He served in the Indian Air Force. He's retired now. So he was saying that leftist Marxism is great, etc. Real Marxism has not been tried, etc. All those arguments. Karl Marx never got anything wrong. It's the people who don't get things wrong. So he has a deity-like fascination with Karl Marx. He's saying that everyone gets Marxism wrong, but Karl Marx was right. Okay, fine. So at one point he asked me to give me examples that where has Marxism failed. First he was arguing even on that point. So I said Soviet Union, Venezuela, Cuba, West Bengal, everywhere, all those places names I started giving out. he suddenly says, Cuba? What's the problem with Cuba? And then, of course, Cuba's healthcare system is propagated so vociferously by leftists. So I said that, see, Cubans build rafts, fake makeshift boats, or swim to USA, to run to USA. Okay, if their healthcare system is so great, why are they leaving so desperately their country and going to USA? The day Americans swim to Cuba, I'll understand that Cuba is a better country. Even to this date, most people go to America, no? Contrary to what Noam Chomsky thinks of America. The day most Americans start leaving their country and go to settle in other countries, I'll understand that, okay, some other country is also doing great. Until that happens, Noam Chomsky needs to be listened to with a grain of salt, because he fails to even grasp with the concept that there can be something called the greatest country on earth.
Characteristics. Some of them very outstanding, wonderful, others hideous. So take some other country. Let's take Germany. Some of the greatest thinkers, scientists, artists in the world.
Yeah, see, this is Abrahamic absolutism at work. He's saying that yes, there are good factors of all countries, there are bad factors of all countries. Even when Nazism was going on, there were good things going on in Germany. So why can't he say that? As I said, greatest does not mean the most perfect thing. Greatest means जो बाकी जो competition है, बाकी देशों के जो हाल है, उनसे better है कि नहीं. That is the definition of greatest. And a linguist does not understand the meaning of what does the word greatest mean. How am I supposed to trust this person for anything?
The depths of human history as well. What's more, it flips quickly from one to the other. You just can't make comments like that.
You just can't make comments like that. You just can't say that any country is greatest. Okay? A linguist is saying this. तो greatest word ही हटा देते हैं. तो greatest तो कभी भी कोई भी कुछ भी नहीं हो सकता है greatest. तो greatest word आया क्यों हमारे जिंदगी में? Greatest word कोई बंद कर दो यूज करना. ठीक है? ग्रेटेस्ट क्यों नहीं बोलेगा? क्योंकि लेफ्टिस्ट को हायरार्की नहीं पसंद है, क्योंकि उसको सब कुछ में 100% इक्वलिटी चाहिए, 100% एफर्ट होना हो, 100% इक्वलिटी चाहिए. हायरार्की गलत है, इसलिए ग्रेटेस्ट वर्ड भी गलत है. पीपल शुड नॉट मेक सच कमेंट्स. दिस इज द स्टेटमेंट ही इज मेकिंग. दैट इज सो डिसऑनेस्ट एंड डिसइंजेन्युअस एंड अनएथिकल.
1920s, Germany was regarded as the peak of European civilization. And the sciences, philosophy, the arts was regarded as a model of democracy. The 1930s, 10 years later, was regarded as the depths of human history. 10 years.
हाँ, तो 10 years later में क्या हुआ, वो क्यों आर्ग्यूमेंट हो रहा है? बोल रहा है कि 10 years पहले जर्मनी में जो इतना अच्छा काम हो रहा था, 10 years बाद वो नहीं रहा. तो तुमको कौन 10 years पहले या 10 years अगले में क्या कौन सा ग्रेटेस्ट कंट्री रहेगा, उसको वो बोलने को बोल रहा है? पैट्रिक बेडेविड नोम चॉम्स्की को पूछ रहा है कि आज 2023 में कौन सा ग्रेटेस्ट कंट्री है. वो बोलने के चक्कर में इतना फालतू का बात कर दिया.
Later, beginning of a return to what it once was. So what's Germany? What's England? England has an absolutely hideous record of atrocities and destruction for centuries. Iran, in fact, is a case in point. We know a lot about it. But Iran could have moved in the early 20th century towards democracy and freedom. The British crushed it when Iran tried to take control of its own energy resources.
Okay, he's giving examples of all countries who were great at one point, then they stopped being great, or while being great they had flaws as well. इसलिए greatest country ही नहीं हो सकता है.
The early 50s, Britain tried to crush it by force. When they were unable to, they asked the big guy across the Atlantic to come in and smash it for them. Okay, that's one side of Britain.
Let's get to the next point.
Adam Smith and Dave, my famous figure dancer. Just too many things. Periodic rallies.
So would you be able to say, 60 years you've given to MIT, most of your life you've lived in America, you've been all over the world. Would you be able to say, I love my country, America?
I don't love countries. Love is a relationship between people. When you love countries, there's something wrong.
Okay. You can't love your country because love usually happens between people. Again, a linguist apparently doesn't understand basic English grammar. Loving your country is not an abstract concept. Loving your country means the things or the people, systems, cultures inside your country? Can't you love a culture? Can't you love a culture because of the people inside that culture? Can't you love anything other than humans? What kind of a statement is this that you can't love countries, love only happens between people? A linguist, one of the greatest linguists of mankind ever, is saying such hilariously stupid, meaningless things just because he's a leftist.
Should you have loved?
And he has been, I think, appreciated so much as a leftist only because the academia was propagating him so much that he's the greatest. If he was a conservative and he had the same views on linguistics, I don't think he would have gotten so much fame.
Loved Germany when it was carrying out the Holocaust.
There, again Germany. हर कुछ में नाजिज्म आता है. फर्स्ट एंड फॉरमोस्ट नाजिज्म से शुरू, नाजिज्म से खत्म. एक बार भी अभी तक स्टालिनिज्म का तो नाम उच्चारण नहीं किया.
People don't.
You can't love countries, you can love people. What bullshit, what meaningless statement is that?
All over the world. Would you be able to say, I love my country, America?
I don't love countries. Love is a relationship between people. When you love countries, there's something wrong.
When you love your country, there's something wrong with you. You can't love the people inside your country.
Should you have loved Germany when it was carrying out the Holocaust?
अरे जर्मनी का कौन बात कर रहा है? ये घूम फिर के नाजिज्म का एक एग्जांपल कैसे आ रहा है? नोम चॉम्स्की को किसी ने पूछा कि नाजी जर्मनी कंट्री अच्छा लगता है कि नहीं? उसको पूछा गया 2023 का यूएसए अच्छा लगता है कि नहीं? This is the same argument that people who hate vegans give. Every time you have a debate with anti-vegans, they will say that no, you can't ask an Eskimo to be vegan. Oh no, if you were stranded on a deserted island, you can't ask him to be vegan. Oh, you can't expect a rickshaw puller to eat tofu. अरे रिक्शा पुलर को कौन बोल रहा है? एस्किमो को कौन बोल रहा है? आइलैंड में स्टैंड होके तू मुझको फेसबुक पे रिप्लाई दे रहा है? मैं तुझे बोल रहा हूँ. This is the same bullshit mental gymnastics that Noam Chomsky is doing. We are not talking about Nazi Germany. Patrick Bet-David, an American, is asking Noam Chomsky, another American, about America of 2023. इसको example देना है Nazi Germany का. Just to use it as a straw man.
You have loved Germany when it was at the peak of human civilization. You care for people and the societies in which they live.
अच्छा, अब आ गया यूनिवर्सलिज्म पे. Okay, again a classic Marxist flaw. So no country can be or no even culture can be especially good or peculiarly good or distinctively good. Okay, ह्यूमैनिटी का जो अच्छाई है वो यूनिवर्सली है हर जगह में. हर कल्चर अच्छा है, मल्टीकल्चरलिज्म आर्ग्यूमेंट. हर देश अपने तरह से अच्छा है एक्सेट्रा. और हर लोग अच्छे हैं, सब कोई अच्छे हैं. And therefore there can be no such thing as loving your country or the greatest country on earth. Culture, अरे तो even if you love American culture, then you love America only. How is he differentiating between these two things?
Should you have loved Germany when it was at the peak of human civilization in which they live? I care for many societies, including this one, but you don't love countries. At least I don't think you should.
I don't think you should love countries. You should love people, whatever that sentence means.
I think there's an emotional connection sometimes with certain set of values that one nation.
There, Patrick Bet-David immediately clarifies that some people can have an emotional connection with the values, and those values means loving that country which are espousing those values.
Offers to you where the other one where you grew up and didn't. It's almost like I wasn't born here. I'm not a U.S. citizen. I can never run to be the president here, or maybe I can do governor or something like that. But this is not really where I was born. But this country welcomed me with open arms and gave me an incredible life. And to compare it to where I was raised at, I mean, the worst day in America is still 10 times better than the best day in Iran. So that's what I mean, where maybe for you had some kind of a love for the country that, gave you the opportunity to become.
The country didn't give you the opportunity. Certain people within the country gave.
Okay, now the leftist bullcrap again begins. Okay, listen very carefully here.
Had some kind of a love for the country that, gave you the opportunity to become.
The country didn't give you the opportunity.
The country didn't give you any opportunity. The people, certain people gave you an opportunity. First of all, that sentence again doesn't make sense grammatically. The country is the people. Every time I say the country does this, the country does good, the country does bad, it is the people of that country. What's the big cool thing that he seems to think he is saying? Then when he's saying that USA has done bad things, when he's criticizing that part of USA, then why isn't he saying that the country didn't do bad things, it was certain people who did bad things? When it comes to the good of the country, certain people were good, not the country. You see how much similar this is with Indian Hindu leftists. Anything bad is inherently Hindu, and therefore Hinduism should be blamed for all those things, casteism, sati, etc. But whatever the good things, that's some good people somewhere did those things. That has nothing to do with Hinduism. That is the exact same line of thinking that Noam Chomsky is making, and therefore I cannot trust him on anything, especially when it comes to his criticisms of USA.
Certain people within the country gave you the opportunity while preventing others, victims of our own crimes, from having that opportunity. They gave you the opportunity because you were a refugee from a country that was an official enemy.
Okay, what does that sentence mean? They were giving Patrick Bet-David an opportunity because he was a refugee from an enemy country. तो इसमें country का कोई credit नहीं है. किसका credit है? और उसके पहले वो भी बोल दिया कि तुमको जो अपॉर्चुनिटी दिया गया वो अपॉर्चुनिटी किसी और से छीना गया. इट्स ऑलवेज अ जीरो सम गेम, which is a classic Marxist leftist economics fallacy, which has been proven wrong countless times in every society that concept has been applied. Economics is not a zero sum game because there is basic inflation always, because there's a reserve bank. They always print more money. When people consensually join an economic agreement, everyone becomes better off because of that. No one is losing money for working more, unless they are in a socialist or communist country. But leftists always think that in order for someone to become richer, someone needs to become poorer, and that is never the case.
That's what they did. Take me. My parents fled from Eastern Europe, horrible conditions, and did manage to get to the United States. And they managed to create a good life for themselves, an even better one for me.
How? And first and foremost, which is the easiest argument that you can have against any leftist, is that America is not inherently good. There are some people who are good, etc. America is not the greatest country also. America is not a good country. You can't love your country. तो भाई तुम्हारे माँ बाप क्यों यूएसए गए? पाकिस्तान क्यों नहीं गए थे? हाँ, सऊदी अरेबिया क्यों नहीं गए? ईरान क्यों नहीं गए? इराक नहीं क्यों नहीं गए? क्या डिफरेंस है वहाँ पे और यूएसए में? यूएसए ही क्यों जाना पड़ा सबको? व्हाइट सुप्रीमेसिस्ट रेसिस्ट स्ट्रक्चर है इसलिए जाना पड़ा. कैपिटलिज्म ऑप्रेसिव है इसलिए जाना पड़ा यूएसए. किसने बुलाया था यूएसए में?
Okay. On the other hand, a couple of years after they fled from Europe, they happened to make it just before the First World War. 2 years later, in 1924, the United States passed a law, immigration law of 1924, which was aimed particularly at Jews and Italians. I'm Jewish. The idea was to keep Jews and Italians away from the country because they were not up to, we don't want that kind of rabble.
Yes. Here's a legitimate criticism of inherently racist laws, that they said that no, we don't want so many Jewish people in our country. Okay? फिर भी तुम्हारे पेरेंट्स को जाने का इच्छा यूएसए में ही क्यों हुआ? सऊदी अरेबिया क्यों नहीं गए? In this case, they are coming to USA then saying that no, it was a bit racist, it was not as equal as God would have intended it to be. But that is the starting point of USA कि अच्छा चलो अच्छा जिंदगी मिलेगा, फिर थोड़ा रेसिज्म हैंडल करना पड़ेगा. बाकी देशों में जा ही नहीं रहे हो रेसिज्म के डर से. वो क्रिटिसिज्म और क्रेडिट यहाँ लेफ्टिस्ट से कहीं जिंदगी में कभी नहीं मिलेगा. And that is the case when they discuss India and Hinduism as well.
Well, that helped put most of my extended family into gas chambers. Okay, they couldn't come here because they were barred in the 1930s. Jewish refugees continued to be barred, virtually, if you were let in the late 40s when they were still in concentration camps. But then victims of massive U.S. atrocities were being kept out right at this moment. They're being driven away from.
Okay. massive atrocities are going on, and the USA is not letting a lot of people enter the country. Again, the argument has to be made that why are those people who are not being allowed in USA wanting to come to USA? Why aren't they going to any seemingly less racist country than USA? Okay, what is magically wrong with those countries where they are not wanting to go? जाओ अर्जेंटीना में जाके रहो, ब्राजील में जाओ, कौन रोक रहा है? ब्राजील और अर्जेंटीना रोक रहा है?
From the border when they flee from horrors that we created from the 80s. Okay, so it's a very mixed.
This is why it's important to counter woke and communists and leftists of all over the country, because these are the same arguments which Indian leftists will learn from Noam Chomsky and apply to India in terms of illegal immigration from Bangladesh and Pakistan. Which is why I say there is an overlap between American conservatives and Indian conservatives. Why should I ignore and turn a blind eye to where I can see definite overlaps and points of alliance?
Story. Sure, I'm glad to have been able to come to the richest country in the world with.
Oh, sure. I was glad to come to the richest country. Sure, random है वो richest country is not that big of a deal. I came it just हाँ थोड़ा rich है, थोड़ा पैसा वैसा मिलेगा. See how casually he thinks, see how casually he mentions the biggest actual point that which brought his parents to the country. And why was USA the richest country? वो rich कैसे बन रहा था? Because of the atrocities you keep mentioning. तो एट्रोसिटीज़ करने के वजह से जो बेनिफिट मिला वो बेनिफिट भी चाहिए, और वो एट्रोसिटी के खिलाफ बात करते करते यूएसए अच्छा कंट्री नहीं है ये भी बोलते फिरेंगे एक ही साथ. नो अमेरिकन हैज़ द राइट टू से दीज थिंग्स. आई कैन से दिस बिकॉज आई एम इन इंडिया, because I don't reap the benefits of USA's atrocities.
Advantages that don't exist anywhere else, thanks to the extermination and expulsion of the native population. So yes, for me that's very good. Does that mean I love the country? No.
10 मिनट बैठ के यूएसए ने क्या क्या अच्छा काम किया पूरे दुनिया में उसके जिंदगी में ये बोला, अब अंत में आके बोला कि does that mean loving the country? No, that cannot mean that.
I admire some things within it. I think we should despise other things within it. And
Yes, admire some things and despise other things. Greatest बोल काहे नहीं पाया फिर? ग्रेटेस्ट में बोलते कि हाँ एडमिरेशन का चीज़ सबसे ज़्यादा जिस कंट्री में है, हो सकता है उसका कुछ क्रिटिसाइज करने का भी चीज़ हो, मगर मोस्ट एडमायरेबल थिंग्स आर इन एनी एक्स कंट्री एंड दैट कंट्री इज़ द ग्रेटेस्ट. ये काहे नहीं बोल पाया? क्योंकि उसका एब्राहमिक रिजिडिटी मोनोथेइज्म का है. ठीक है कि नहीं, ग्रेटेस्ट मतलब यूटोपिया, ग्रेटेस्ट मतलब द परफेक्ट गॉड, द गॉड हेड जीसस क्राइस्ट जैसा कोई होना है देश को, तभी जाके वो ग्रेटेस्ट कंट्री है, नहीं तो ग्रेटेस्ट नहीं है.
Same is true of every other country.
Would you call yourself a pessimist or a optimist?
Well, when asked that, I always appeal to the slogan that Antonio Gramsci made famous. We should have pessimism of the intellect and optimism of the will. So a lot of things that are wrong, that's what we should concentrate on, trying to make them better. And we should be optimistic about the power to do so, no matter what the obstacles.
Yeah, it almost reminds.
Fair enough. Nice, cool sentence. He seems to be, his career seems to be based on cool sentences because he's a linguist after all. But he's respected because of his sheer volume of work also. He has about more than 150 books. So, and because he's a leftist, he's respected in the academia, and therefore if he's leftist in one thing, everything other that he says and does in his life will also be appreciated by the academic mainstream, of course. If as I said, if he was a linguist with the exact same opinions, but he was a conservative, no one would pay him so much heed.
Reminds me of, you studied obviously a lot of philosophy. I'm assuming you also studied probably Stoicism with Seneca and Marcus Aurelius and the whole, how Stoicism got started, where prior to it used to be called cynicism, and a couple guys are like, listen.
By the way, Stoicism has an equivalence in India as well, in Manusmriti. It's called Jitendriya, Indriya Jaya. Okay, Shubham Patra is saying woke commie. Yes. Harshavi, yes, CIA. Okay. Someone is saying, अरे भाई finally caught you live, भगवान तोर मंगल करू, तुई खूब भालो काज करछिस. हाँ, thank you.
I don't want to be part of the cynicism community. It was a philosophy, and Seneca kind of stepped away and says, I'm just going to go do something else, and then boom, Stoicism got started. into what it is today, but it was more of the mindset of I can do something about my life to improve my life. Do you believe the individual has the ability and the control and the responsibility and the ultimate level of accountability to help improve their situation and their lives?
Not just your own life, but to improve the world for all of us.
Sure.
And those are, right now, the most urgent questions that have ever faced the human species. After all, we might not like to think about it, but we have about a decade or two to answer the question as to whether organized human life will persist on Earth. Nothing less than that. Very stark question.
How certain are you of that? To say a decade or two, that's a pretty...
Okay. Noam Chomsky says, in a decade or two, humanity bachega bhi nahi. When Patrick Bet-David says that, how sure are you of that? He says it's a fact. Then he says, how can you say it's a fact? Then Noam Chomsky makes a mental gymnastics jump again that no, in academia, for centuries we have agreed upon that a fact means that you are not absolutely sure. This is what Noam Chomsky says. And since we are not academics, nor is Patrick Bet-David, that may be the case inside the campuses. But what in general people understand when someone says, uses the word fact, is that it's 100% true. No one should be this dishonest as to using the word fact, and then when pushed on it, and to say, are you fully sure of it? Then suddenly jump and say that no, I don't think there is anything called fact. I think fact means that it might not be true. You are claiming it to be a fact. Then you are also saying that no, it does not have to be completely true. Listen to this hilarious exchange.
Extreme statement to say we only have a decade or two.
Why do I say that?
Yeah.
It's a fact. If we don't deal with the increase of heating the environment, we will reach tipping points which are irreversible. Doesn't mean everybody's going to die tomorrow, but we'll be off on a course which will be unstoppable and will lead to essentially the end of organized human life on Earth, along with millions of other species which we're destroying at the same time. We can't be certain about this, but there's a very high probability of it. In fact, virtual unanimity among scientists that this is what's going to happen unless we take control within the next few decades.
So to say it's a fact, that's a pretty strong statement to say.
ठीक है, तो यहाँ पे एनवायरनमेंट का बात हो रहा है. ठीक है, यूनाइटेड होकर लोगों को तो कुछ करना ही होगा, मगर वही कंट्री कर पाएंगे जिसका इंटरेस्ट are not against nature because of their inherent culture, or those who have an economic interest to save it, or those who have an economic interest to not harm it. ये सब में से India has the potential to be the leader. If India does manage to reduce climate change or man-made climate change to a significant extent, will then Noam Chomsky say that yes, India is a great country? Or will Indian leftists say that? No, they won't.
It's a fact. Fact means 100% we're going to be there. And
nothing is 100%.
Okay.
Nothing is 100%, but it's a fact. Listen to this for the first time, you stupid people who have not been a part of this academia. Now he will keep on repeating this statement that, for hundreds of years, as if Patrick Bet-David is a uneducated person. In that tone, he says that no, this is an obvious fact for hundreds of years. Fact does not mean 100% correct. Listen to this hilarious exchange.
Quantum theory is not 100%. Theory of relativity is not 100%. In the empirical world, you never have certainty.
I'm just saying, you said fact. I'm just repeating, you said fact. So I think what you're saying, there's a possibility, but not necessarily factual.
Yes, but there's a background understanding since the 17th century.
Since the 17th century. This is the arrogance of academics that people all over the world are standing up against. This is the problem with their tone and their conversation styles, okay? He's saying that ये तो बहुत सालों से चल रहा है, तुमको पता नहीं है? That is what he's basically saying. And he could have said that no, fact is actually considered not an 100% finalized thing in academia. And he could have said just this and not repeat himself 5 times. What he's going to do now? He's going to repeat himself 5 times, 6 times, and keep saying that For centuries, it has been accepted in academia. How do you not know that?
That in the world of empirical fact, you never reach certainty. So when we talk about facts, as we do freely, we always mean it with that qualification in the background. We're not going to stop using the word fact. Like, it's a fact that if I take this coffee cup and I let go of it, it's a fact that it'll fall to the ground. But there, in fact, is a very slight possibility that it'll rise to the sky.
वाह, कितना बढ़िया defense है of using the word fact, or claiming that fact does not mean a 100% surety, because there is apparently a chance that the cup might go upwards. These people will teach Hindus of rituals and superstition.
Okay, happens to be the case. There's a spectrum of possibilities of which the overwhelmingly high probability, so high that there's no need in the practical world to consider anything else, is it'll fall to the ground. But there does happen to be a very minuscule possibility that it might go to the sky. But when we talk about facts, we have that understanding in the background.
Yeah, I mean, I just never seen anything fall up. I've lived 42 years. I've had a hard time seeing. I mean, if things would have gone up and I would have jumped a little higher, I would have been in the NBA today. So I'm hoping that was kind of favoring me, but I couldn't jump more than 15 inches. So I could never go into the NBA. So factually, some of this stuff, maybe I got some work to do on.
Actually, there is, not that you would do it, but it's just one of the things that could happen in the universe. So yes,
could happen in the universe, but that's a could. That's
It could happen. Therefore, it should be considered inside facts. What is going on here? This man is the most respected linguist in the world. AI engineers look up to him and read his work and incorporate that into our artificial intelligence systems.
It's not a fact, though. But to say factually in the next 10.
This is why academics, intellectuals should not be paid too much heed when it comes to real life. And see, Patrick Bet-David is countering a gigantic academic. And what's his education? He's not even a college graduate. He has these basic common senses. He's saying that's a could. Why are you involving the concept of could in the umbrella of facts? Linguist को एक random business owner podcast host समझा रहा है. That is how low academia has fallen. Do you think there was any random businessman in India who could have won a debate with Chanakya, or could have said anything remotely as shocking to Chanakya as Patrick Bet-David is doing? Do you think there would have been an audience where there would be a debate between a random business owner and Chanakya, and people would be shocked that how weak Chanakya's arguments are? There has been a general decline in academia itself, objectively.
Could happen in the universe, but that's a could. That's not a fact, though. But to say factually in the next 10 or 20 years, that makes somebody sit there and say 2 times 2 is 4. That's a fact. 2 times 2 is not going to be 5 tomorrow. There's a possibility it'll be 5 tomorrow.
A random business owner is explaining to the greatest linguist of all time how English grammar works. This is the situation we are in today.
Tomorrow. That puts a lot of fear in some folks who haven't read as much as you have to say. To say the world, we're going in the direction with climate change in 10 or 20 years, that's a scary thought.
No, sorry, that's a misunderstanding.
Sure.
Every empirical fact that you can think of has a possibility of being wrong, whatever it is. That's been understood for centuries.
ये अब theoretical mathematics का argument कहाँ से आ गया? Look, this is called mental gymnastics. Okay. Let me just see what Ninad is saying. He's saying now he speaks like some of our leftist historians. Yes, why wouldn't he? Our leftist historians are intellectual. वो मानस शिष्य बोलते हैं ना जो. They are that of Noam Chomsky. They worship Noam Chomsky.
That's different.
Wrong, whatever it is. That's been understood for centuries.
Again, for centuries it has been understood. Only you don't understand because you are a stupid podcast host and a business owner capitalist. That's why you don't understand. That's what he's saying.
Sure.
Every empirical fact that you can think of has a possibility of being wrong, whatever it is. That's been understood for centuries.
That's different. That could be your opinion, my opinion, research, who wrote it.
It's not a matter of opinion. By now, modern physics even explains it in some detail. So it doesn't.
Modern physics explains it. अच्छा, कहाँ से शुरू हुआ था conversation के is it a fact that 10-20 years में humanity खत्म हो जाएगा? अब आर्ग्यूमेंट जा पहुंचा थियोरेटिकल फिजिक्स तक. थियोरेटिकल फिजिक्स और थियोरेटिकल मैथ्स का बात हो रहा है अभी.
I mean, we should stop talking about facts. Of course we should. But we should talk about facts with a recognition, always barely possible, sometimes almost inconceivably small probability that they're wrong. So we continue to talk about facts.
So he keeps being disrespectful. Patrick Bet-David is not being disrespectful enough of this hilariously stupid point.
So when I say it's a fact that this is going to happen, that means there's an overwhelmingly high probability. And we know the reasons.
I think there's a big
we know
difference.
the factors and so on. If you want every statement that's ever made to be added to disqualification, okay, I don't think that's a wise policy. We should continue to talk about facts.
Sure. No, I just think, one of the reasons why we've gotten to where we are in America, this is my opinion. This is not a fact. This is my opinion. I'm very comfortable being wrong. I think one of the reasons why we've gotten to where we are today in America, as divisive as we are, is because both sides think everything they believe in is 100% factual. This is coming from a skeptical Christian. This is coming from a guy that grew up an atheist for 25 years. And I'm sitting there debating all these different issues in the Bible. And I'm like, wait a minute, this doesn't make, and I'm a math guy. So I understand what you're saying. I appreciate that. But let's go to a different topic here. So let's talk about capitalism. We have different economical systems in the world. No matter how much I study what you say, you'll take shots at Obama. Then you'll take shots at Bush. Then you'll take shots at Nixon. Then you'll take shots at Carter. Then you'll take shots at Trump. So it's not like you are blindly, no matter what, only defending anybody that is on one side. You're not that. That's not you. You're not a such and such person, such a perfect leader. He can never make a mistake. You don't come from there. That gives you a lot of credibility as a reader.
Yes, here Patrick Bet-David gets something disastrously wrong in his diagnosis of Noam Chomsky, and I want to point out what Nina is saying here. For centuries it has been understood, ye baar baar bol raha hai, and exchange that with it's been written in the holy book. The Abrahamic POV never goes away. Yes, that is what I was saying. Marxism, he says he's not a Marxist, but leftist politics inherently is the fourth Abrahamic faith. That is why they are wrong about everything. That is why their ideas fail, etc. And what does Patrick Bet-David get disastrously wrong here? He says that Noam Chomsky's views have integrity, or Noam Chomsky has integrity because he criticizes all of these US presidents. He's not being a partisan person here. He's not saying that only Republicans are bad or Democrats are bad. What Patrick Bet-David, I don't know why he screwed this up, fails to acknowledge here is that Noam Chomsky is criticizing all those US presidents because none of them are leftist enough for them. This is the same with intellectuals of Bengal. They hated Congress, they hated Buddhadev Bhattacharya, they hated Jyoti Basu. A lot of them hate Mamata Banerjee as well, because none of them are being leftist enough. Does that mean that intellectual is an integrity wala person? Should I look up to that intellectual from Bengal in terms of politics? No. They will say all of these chief ministers are bad because none of them are leftist enough. That's his argument against all American presidents. So that's why he has even lesser amount of integrity, because he cannot make a value judgment against anything in terms of anything good. He can say something is bad. He can say everything is equal. He cannot say something is good. What a weird and creepy, sick problem. Do you realize that? This is basically degenerate, pervert thinking, a pervert worldview.
Reader to say, I'm actually interested to see what he's thinking about it here. But if we look at economical systems, we got capitalism, we got socialism, we got communism, and then, a couple other things. Marxism would be pretty much the same as socialism, communism, a part of it. What do you think about, like when you think about capitalism, out of all the systems that we've had and the results that capitalism has created, what are your thoughts on capitalism?
Well, first of all, I have a different conception of the various options in the world. You see many different kinds. I see one. Every society that's functioning has some variety of state capitalism. Some elements of capitalism constrained by state power. That's true of the United States, it's true of Britain, it was true of Russia under the so-called communists, that's true of China. We can look at the different variants of state capitalism that exist. I think they all have some advantages, many defects. Now, as far as my discussing Biden, Obama, Bush, and so on, there are two kinds of, we have a finite amount of time and energy. We can decide how to use it. One way to use it is to march in parades, praising the magnificence of our leaders and countries, along with great mass of other.
Now, this is the last point we'll discuss today because I can't remain online forever and ever. But This is the last criticism I'll make of Noam Chomsky today. Listen to this point. He says, we have very limited amount of time in this country, in this lifetime, so we should not waste our time going to marches where we are appreciating leaders or celebrating the nation, but we should go to protests. Check this point.
Other people, pretty useless activity in my opinion. The
Wow.
other possibility is to see what's wrong with existing societies. And
Only observe what's wrong with the society, and that is the beginning and end of all leftist thinking, arguments, politics, etc. This is the basic problem. What is wrong with the society? सिर्फ वो ही सोचो, कुछ भी सेलिब्रेट मत करो, कुछ भी सेलिब्रेट करने लायक नहीं है, एंड देयरफॉर कुछ भी बचाने लायक नहीं है. सब कुछ हर वक्त सिर्फ चेंज करते रहो, प्रोग्रेस करते रहो. जो अभी हुआ है वो अच्छा है कि नहीं, मारो उसको गोली. सिर्फ चेंज करो, प्रोग्रेस करो, नया लाओ कुछ.
work to try to change them.
Okay, Shubham Patra is saying, please watch Hearts of Iron 4 after this. No, I can't because I've been online for about 3 years. I'll see what it is and then maybe do a live stream on this on next day. Okay, it's a game. Why is he asking me to watch it then? Interesting.
My feeling is that's where attention and energy should be devoted. So every one of those figures that you mentioned did a lot of things that I think were very wrong, very harmful to others and ourselves. And I think not just them, but the people around them, the social forces that within which they were functioning and so on. So I think the sensible thing to do is look at those and try to improve and change them. If that gives an impression of being negative, yes, it's true. I think we should be negative about things that ought to be changed. If you want to applaud, join the multitudes in the parades and praise what's nice, fine, that's okay. It's not a very worthwhile. You want to do it on July 4th, okay, but not devoting your life to it.
So we should.
A lot of false premises here and straw man arguments here. Okay, first of all, his argument is that you should only criticize things and look for things to change and not celebrate those things. Okay, that is inherently a sick view in my opinion, but that's his opinion, it's my opinion. Opinions पे disagreements हो सकता है, it's not important. What he says after that is the stupid part here. He says that you should not waste your time celebrating something because that time could be used to change what's wrong. Okay, how do you invest all your life or your day only in observing what's bad and changing that, instead of also celebrating the good things or giving credit where it's due to anyone or any organization or any country, etc. I don't know how that works practically or in a sane mind. But even the bigger problem, what he says is after that. Check out what he says here.
In the parades and praise what's nice, fine, that's okay. It's not a very worthwhile. You want to do it
it's not a worthwhile thing to do, going into a parade and celebrating something good.
on July 4th, okay.
On July 4th, you can do it if you want to. It's the American Independence Day. That's what he says.
Not devoting your life to it.
So
Not devoting your life to it. Here is a straw man. Who devotes their life to just going to parades and celebrating something? No one devotes their life to going to parades. What people might devote their life to is looking at things to celebrate. And that is something unacceptable to Noam Chomsky. There should be only people or people who are only criticizing things. That's the only worthwhile thing according to him. And there again, you see the Abrahamic worldview come into play. That is the only way. Binary bhi gaya gadde mein. Only right way, only true path to follow is to criticize and not celebrate anything. Can you imagine having a life like that? Not celebrating anything good, not giving anyone any credit. That's the life of a leftist. Noam Chomsky is basically unmasking what leftists think in their minds.
So we should emphasize on the wrong work that you do. You're saying, so as a reader, you've written 150 books. So rather than looking at ideas you have in your book that make sense, I, as the reader, should look at the things that's wrong about you.
Patrick Bet-David has made an interesting counter argument that should we do that in terms of your books as well? Now see what he replies.
not the things you write that's right about you. So that's kind of what you're suggesting.
If you have some special interest in me, say you're my mother, then you should.
Starts off with a disrespect again. He says that, why do you need to take so much interest in me? Are you my mother? If you are that, in that case, it's okay for you to only look at my flaws. Hypocrisy comes out in 2 seconds.
Should be interested in the things that I do that I shouldn't be.
He's just not shouting and screaming like I am, or the way Deepak speaks. He's speaking in a very nice, polite tone, but he's saying absolutely disrespectful and horrible things.
Right about you. So that's kind of what you're suggesting.
If you have some special interest in me, say you're my mother, then you should be interested in the things that I do that I shouldn't be doing. Okay. If you care about me.
But if not, I got to constantly be looking.
So if you care about the U.S., if you care about U.S. society, if you don't care about U.S. society, just go march in a parade. If you do.
Look at this tone. If you care about US society, you should not march in any parade celebrating US society. If you care about US society, only criticize US society to improve its flaws. And Ninar, what the point you are making is not exactly countered by Noam Chomsky. He agrees with you in that case. There are people who dedicate their lives to be Andolanjivis like him, right? He's saying that is the path. That is the only path. People should be only Andolanjivis because they need to change things for the better.
You care about U.S. society. Don't care about U.S. society. Just go march in a parade.
Look at this tone. If you don't care about US society, just go march in the parade. If you care about US society, don't do that.
If you do care about US society, you'll take a look at what you think ought to be changed and improved.
If you care about US society, you will only look for things to change. Okay. Here again, the linguist does not get English grammar, I think. तो US society के लिए care कहाँ से आ रहा है? देश प्रेम नहीं है, सब कुछ culture, some people का काम है. Then why do you even care about US society? Care about all societies. Don't march any parade to fix some American problem. Or admit that you don't care about the society, you hate the society, but you still think this problem needs to be addressed. That can be a fair argument. You might be crazy, but that even crazy people can come up with some logical argument. What Noam Chomsky is saying here is not a logical argument. He's saying if you care about a society, only look at what's wrong with it. But up till now, he has said that there's nothing to care about US society.
If you do care about US society, you'll take a look at what you think ought to be changed and improved.
So what you're saying is,
तो केयर कोई सोसाइटी के लिए आएगा किस बिना पे, किस बेसिस पे कोई केयर करेगा enough to look at its flaws.
if I'm constantly looking at things that are wrong instead of things that are right, that to me means less celebration, more being critical. So I should spend more time protesting than attending parades.
Not just protesting, trying to change.
Not just protesting, trying to change. तो protesting तो है ही, protest march में भी जाना है, उसके अलावा अभी change करना है, सब कुछ सिर्फ change ही करना है, ठीक है. मगर जो चीज़ change नहीं करना है, according to him, obviously there might be some things that don't need to be changed maybe. Those things do not need to be celebrated. And that is the biggest problem with leftist politics, because they will not conserve anything. Everything will be changed every day, every month.
If you care about the society at all, you'll be concerned with trying to change the things that are wrong, that hamper its development, that hurt the people in it, and that are harming other people in the world. You'll be committed to changing those if you care about the society.
See how many times he says this. If you care about a society, you will do this. How manipulative and sick that is. Nina is making a great point here. This might as well be a Abrahamic religious leader laying out rules for what people are allowed to do, like issuing fatwas. This guy decides what caring about society means for everyone. Yes, he is giving out a fatwa.
If you don't care about the society at all, you can march in parades.
Look at this. If you don't care about a society at all, only then celebrate it.
Yeah, but I mean, I get that. Okay, fine. Let's continue with that. So capitalism, what is, in your opinion, what is wrong with capitalism? Where do you see the flaws and challenges in capitalism, and what will be a better alternative than capitalism?
Well, first of all, since there is no capitalism, almost everything we have is an alternative to it, everything in fact. If there were capitalism, it would probably self-destruct within no time. That's why the business world, pretty much in charge, has always invariably called upon state power to protect them from the ravages of the market and to...
Okay. This is kind of right, and there's a bit of a straw man here. First of all, he says that if a society was actually capitalist, which is the anarcho-libertarian and anarcho-capitalist position, that state वेट छोड़ो, सिर्फ हम सब लोग अपना अपने खुद में बिजनेस करके सोसाइटी चला लेंगे, अगर वो होता तो इट वुड सेल्फ डिस्ट्रक्ट इमीडिएटली. दिस इज व्हाट ही इज सेइंग. ओके, this is not the opinion of countless anarcho-capitalists, obviously. Milton Friedman would not have said that. Milton Friedman's son, with whom I have actually spoken to in Facebook regarding a libertarian view I had about making roads, etc. in a hypothetical completely anarcho-capitalist society. He gives replies in Facebook. He's a fun person. David Friedman, his name is. So all those people are absolutely wrong. Anarcho-capitalist society जब होगा, it will self-destruct immediately. This is his argument. मगर इतना बार जब देश प्रेम का बात आ रहा था, तब जब नाजिज्म का बात हो रहा था, तब बार बार he was giving out the examples of Nazism to strawman against any kind of patriotism. Remember, he never gave out any example of Stalinism or Mao. Even now he won't. Anarcho-capitalism जब होगा, तब self-destruct होगा. मार्क्सिज्म जब आता है, कम्युनिज्म जब आता है, तब self-destruct नहीं होता है. सोवियत यूनियन का सेल्फ डिस्ट्रक्शन नहीं हुआ, चाइना का सेल्फ डिस्ट्रक्शन नहीं हुआ डाओ जिनपिंग के पहले, वेस्ट बंगाल का सेल्फ डिस्ट्रक्शन नहीं हुआ, वेनेजुएला क्यूबा का सेल्फ डिस्ट्रक्शन नहीं हुआ. वहां पे मैजिक हो गया, वहां पे ऐसे ही वो लोग गरीब रह गए. सारा सेल्फ डिस्ट्रक्शन एनार्को कैपिटलिज्म में होगा. दैट इज हिज आर्गुमेंट.
State power to protect them from the...
And the thing I agree with him here, but there's a straw man here as well. He's saying that big businesses themselves want state intervention so that they are saved from failing. Which he's bringing out the issue of bailouts, which is disagreed upon by libertarians and free market people themselves. तब जो गवर्नमेंट और बिग बिजनेस का करप्शन है, कल्यूजन है, वो काम आता है. The people, let's say the intellectuals of the anarcho-capitalist side or the capitalist side, they never say that bail those companies out. Even just last month when that Silicon Valley Bank failed, every conservative in the country, in the world said, don't bail that company out. Let the company fail. Let those people make a new company. Let the bank fail. They should have faced consequences for their actions. $250,000 तक तो वो पैसा इंश्योर्ड है भी. कोई भी आदमी जिसका वहाँ पे $250,000 से नीचे है या $250,000 तक है, वो बिना पैसे के घर नहीं जाएगा, वो इंश्योर्ड है. उसके ऊपर जिसका पैसा है $500,000 मिलियन डॉलर्स है, उन लोगों को थोड़ा कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस फेस करने दो. इवन दे विल मेक बेटर डिसीजंस इन टर्म्स ऑफ बैंक्स. कोई भी कॉन्सिक्वेंस फेस नहीं करेगा तो वो गलती तो फिर से होगा. दैट इज अ प्रॉब्लम, बट दैट इज नॉट व्हाट इज प्रोपगेटेड by advocates of capitalism. He's strawmanning again the lowest common denominator to portray the entire thought or movement or people who remotely agree with that idea. Okay, you talk to him about patriotism, he brings in Nazism. You talk to him about free market and capitalism, he brings in government and company collusion and corruption. Ben Shapiro, even up till a few years, he used to repeat himself hoarse, saying that, I don't want Barack Obama to bail out those companies. Even then, Barack Obama was bailing out those companies. Republicans didn't want companies to be bailed out. People on the capitalism side didn't want companies to be bailed out, banks to be bailed out. The government did that because they are corrupt. Why should my opinions be based on what a corrupt person is doing? Why should every patriot in every country have to limit their voice because Nazism happened? अजीब बात है, especially when you won't bring up Stalinism as a criticism ever of any leftist. This is plain disingenuous and dishonesty. He's a bad faith actor.
Ravages of the market and to subsidize them and to carry them through to the next stage, to develop the next stage of the economy and so on. Why? Let's be quite concrete. We're now using computers, the internet, satellites, microelectronics, so on. Where'd all that come from? Mostly from public investment. You got a
Mostly
vaccination.
from public investment? You mean the government? So most of the innovation we've had in America came from the government, not from the people?
Yeah.
That's what you're saying?
Of course. I mean, I was at MIT in the 50s and the 60s when most of this was being developed. It was being developed on public funds.
Okay. Again, we have to make that classic counter that, okay, अमेरिकन पब्लिक फंडिंग से सब इनोवेशन हुआ था, कैपिटलिज्म के वजह से नहीं हुआ था, तो बाकी देश में क्यों नहीं हुआ भाई? बाकी देश में भी तो सब कुछ गवर्नमेंट कर रहा था, ठेका लेके रखा था 1991 तक इंडिया में. इंडिया का स्टार्टअप कल्चर कहाँ पे चला गया? Why didn't we innovate anything? Because we are racist, because we are inherently stupid. That has to be the argument then. Anyone who hates capitalism but appreciates America for being a prosperous country are inherently racist, because they are saying that America flourished even could have flourished without even capitalism. There is no corruption, it has nothing to do with capitalism. They are prosperous, it has nothing to do with capitalism. तो फिर वो सब चीजें इंडिया में क्यों नहीं हुआ? Then the only logical answer is that then Indians are stupid. That's why हम नहीं कर पाए. If capitalism is not a factor here, what is the factor? Like there's a cool slogan that everyone says that America was built on the backs of slavery. अच्छा, slaves ने क्या किया? कॉटन पिक किया. कॉटन फील्ड क्या सिर्फ यूएसए में ही है और कहीं पे कॉटन फील्ड नहीं था? यूएसए became the highest manufacturer of cotton, of course, because of slavery. तो बाकी लोगों को किसने रोक के रखा था? Today we are the second highest exporter of beef and buffalo meat. तो our economy is built on the backs of buffaloes. एक चीज सिर्फ कॉटन का एक्सपोर्ट में यूएसए का इतना बढ़ोतरी हो गया, इसलिए सारे के सारे देश पीछे रह गए. Why he just won't give credit where it's due.
So that could be an opinion. That could not be necessarily a fact. But that's another thing that could be an opinion, because you and I are on a computer right now invented by this guy named Steve Wozniak.
Well, take a look at computers. They were developed for the risky, creative, hard work was done for decades, either in research universities.
Yeah, but they almost used the entire city's electricity.
Patrick Bet-David gives great counter arguments to a legendary linguist professor.
They had to have massive towers to have a computer, because in order to allow the entrepreneur to...
Lots of electricity, which is coming from public funding, overwhelmingly. So yes, if you look back at it, most of it, just the creative, hard, general work is just...
अरे creative, hard, general work वो बाकी जगह में क्यों possible नहीं हुआ? Indians creative नहीं है. इंडियंस के दिमाग में कोई अच्छा आइडिया नहीं आता है. इंडियन का साइंटिफिक टेम्पर नहीं है. इंडिया में क्यों नहीं हो पाया 1991 से पहले? यूएसए में क्यों हुआ? ये इजी आंसर कोई नहीं देगा, कोई कम्युनिस्ट नहीं देगा.
Done through public engagement. Now you take a look at computers again. In 1977, after about 30 years of development of computers, mostly in the public sector.
Okay, I need to counter Maximus Prime here. Yes, the slaves built everything and no white people worked in those mines, etc., or railway lines. That is a falsehood anyway. Again, the more important point is that slave किसके पास नहीं था? आज भी लीबिया के पास स्लेव है, पाकिस्तान के पास स्लेव है, तो हिना रब्बानी खार के खुद के फार्म हाउस में स्लेव है, क्या उखाड़ लिया? Okay, notice that if they did not have slavery, they would have paid white people to do that, or get indentured servitude laborers from other places. Caribbean countries में slavery नहीं था, Indian slaves तो वहाँ पे भी थे. मॉरिशस में indentured servitude वाले लोग ही जाके वहाँ का हिंदू कम्युनिटी बनाए हैं. अफ्रीका में indentured servitude था इंडियंस का. ये सब देश ने क्या उखाड़ लिया? वहाँ पे that was not built on the backs of Indians. कुछ नहीं कर पाए, क्यों? Because they had capitalism. Because USA has capitalism, other places don't have capitalism. आज भी अफ्रीका गड्ढे में है, इंडिया में गड्ढे में क्यों नहीं है? Because India has capitalism, Africa doesn't.
Steve Jobs was able to make a personal computer that you could sell in the market. Apple computer, the one I'm using. And then the marketing, the development, and so on was mostly transferred to the private sector. No, it's more complex than this. So IBM, for example, after learning...
No. I understand that you are pointing out that slaves did do something. I'm saying yes, slaves obviously did something. नहीं तो slave बना के लेके क्यों गए थे? Yes, that is true. But USA is built on the backs of slavery is a completely wrong statement to make, because other countries which had slavery, why couldn't they build something on the backs of their slavery? That is what I'm asking. Therefore, slavery is not even a big factor here.
How to switch from punch cards to modern computers. They learned that mostly in labs like the one I was working in at MIT, but they did advance to that point. Then they were able to develop their own computer in the early 60s, stretch computer, fastest one around. And nobody could buy it. It was way too expensive. So it went to the public sector. It was bought by Los Alamos. And then it was able to develop further. And so it continued. Same with the internet, which was being developed right where it was, in fact, in the late 50s, early 60s. Public funding. After about...
What am I supposed to conclude from here? Anything other than white supremacism at work? He thinks public funding और किसी चीज़ का और किसी जगह में नहीं होता है, और होता भी है तो वो इतने चूतिए हैं कि वो कुछ कर नहीं पाते हैं. He is saying some things that happened in USA and he's crediting those things for the innovation and capitalism. Whereas those exact same things happen in all other countries, even in India, even until 1991. तो यहाँ पे क्यों नहीं हुआ? क्योंकि हम घोड़े चमड़ी वाले नहीं हैं. That's the only logical argument remaining.
30 years, 1995 or so, it was essentially handed over to private power, largely privatized. That's why a lot of the economy develops. Goes way back to the early 19th century. 19th century, the main development in the country was railroads. That was the huge economic development. They were much too complicated and extensive for private capital to deal with them. So it was handed over to the Army Corps of Engineers.
हाँ, क्यों? अच्छा, अभी क्या बोला कि a lot of economic prosperity and development happened then when it was handed over to the private companies or to the Army Corps of Engineers. बाकी समय क्या बोलेंगे ये लोग? America was built on the backs of slavery. See?
Mass production. It's called the American way of manufacturing, which astonished the world. Late 19th century. Quality control, replaceable parts.
How did quality control ये सब गवर्नमेंट फंडिंग से होता है? गवर्नमेंट को कुछ आता जाता है क्वालिटी का? क्योंकि गवर्नमेंट नेवर गोज आउट ऑफ बिजनेस. Private companies go out of business if they are allowed to go out of business. Unless they are corrupt and have friendship with the government, then they won't be allowed to go out of business. A company cares about quality control, which is being translated in the world as American quality control. That is because of their companies caring about quality control. And why do they care about quality control? Because otherwise they'll go out of business. That is what free market is. That is what capitalism is, which he won't give credit to.
Taylorism in industry, all of this, which made things much more efficient. It was mostly developed in government armories, then picked up and used by private capital. Now, I'm drawing the lines too sharply. You look at the whole thing, complicated story, there's all kinds of interaction. But this is a large part of economic history, all the way through. That's why we always have state capitalism, along with protection of the masters from market ravages. They don't want to face them. The reason we...
Not that everyone has that protection. Again, a straw man. He's saying that everyone has that protection and no one faces any consequences. He's saying that no company ever goes out of business. This is what Noam Chomsky is basically saying here. Again, worst possible scenario को बाकी सब पे थोप रहा है. ठीक है, imposition हो रहा है. पेट्रियटिज्म का बात करो, ये नाजिज्म लेके आएगा. ठीक है, एनार्को कैपिटलिज्म का बात करो, ये गवर्नमेंट और बिगेस्ट बिजनेस का करप्शन का बात लेके आएगा. अब बोल रहा है कि कैपिटलिज्म नाम का कुछ चीज़ ही नहीं है. इट्स ऑल स्टेट कंट्रोल्ड एनीवे एंड स्टेट्स नेवर, द गवर्नमेंट, द पॉलिटिकल सिस्टम नेवर allows businesses to fail. And where do you see that? Only the biggest businesses are so big that they are able to manipulate politicians and therefore they don't go out of business. बाकी 99% businesses का क्या होता है? सबसे ज़्यादा तो यूएसए में ही होता है. Because there's a creative destruction system going on. It's so easy to fail in a business in California. Do you know that? What the BJP government did, one of their biggest achievements was that opening a new business or setting up a factory has become very much easier compared to what was before. What our still our weakness is how difficult it is to close down a business in India. because of our socialist hangover, that नहीं workers का क्या हो जाएगा, गरीब लोगों को खाना नहीं मिल रहा है, etc. All those slogans which mean nothing. Unless you make it easy for people to close down a business, how will they create the next factory? See, Bengal is a hub of ghost jute mills. So many factories are just lined up, closed down, because they are not allowed to be fully closed down and create a new factory. All of those entrepreneurs could have made some other product and created a different factory and hired those same people. नहीं, जूट ही बनाना है हमको. हमने एक बार जूट बनाना सीख लिया, अब पूरा जिंदगी सिर्फ जूट ही बनाएंगे. That is the argument of those laborers. And so they remain jobless for the rest of their lives. That is the argument CPIM used to give when there's a famous place called Bokhali in South West Bengal. It's a sea beach. In order to go there, you have to cross a sea beach. Only I think this year or last year, finally a bridge came up. Even though Bokhali is used to be the second most popular beach in the entire state, everyone has to cross that river on a ferry or on a boat. Why? Because the boatmen of that river had the river is called Hatania Duania. They had the union which said that no, हमारे प्रोफेशन का क्या होगा. अरे भाई, आज तक अगर वो ब्रिज होता आज से 10-20 साल पहले, Bokhali could have been turned into a big tourism hub. You all could have quit your boating job and opened up other businesses. They won't do that. Everyone would have been better off. They would have been more prosperous. लेकिन उसको बोट ही चलाना है, and therefore they are not going to close down their business. And so what Sanjeev Sanyal keeps talking about, that insolvency and bankruptcy code, which has been a significant improvement in closing down a business, is a great thing in India today. And that's why one entrepreneur, if he fails in one business or fails in one particular product, he can change his business or change into a different field in the market completely, and therefore create new opportunities. Instead, what used to happen is that he used to spend the rest of his 30-40 years of his life apologizing and looking for ways to close down the company, but no one would allow him to close down the company, क्योंकि worker का क्या होगा भाई.
We have huge financial institutions. It is because the government insures them and allows
I don't
them.
disagree with that. That's the part with crony capitalism. I'm not with that. When the
But
big
that's-
banks got bailed out and they
There, Patrick Bet-David says, I'm not with crony capitalists. I don't want big banks to get bailed out. वो सिर्फ कर रहे हो तुम, और वो करके तुम बाकी कैपिटलिज्म को क्यों गाली दे रहे हो?
got the checks in 08 by Barack Obama or Bush or folks back in the day when Reagan bailed out. I'm not the one that's sitting here saying let's bail some of these companies out, because in my opinion, Professor, I don't think monopoly exists without the help of the government. I don't think a monopoly
It's quite
exists.
the opposite. As soon as you start deregulating, it moves towards monopolization. With the
Okay, deregulation जब होता है तब मोनोपोली होता है. That's his argument, even though he has never run a business in his life. Okay, remember, वो caveat थोड़ा चाहिए, ठीक है. सब academics का opinion हर चीज़ में गलत नहीं है, ऐसा नहीं हो सकता है. But in this case, remember, Karl Marx never ran a business. Hegel never ran a business as far as I know. Noam Chomsky has never run a business. But he knows that business चलाने में government regulation जब हट जाएगा तभी मोनोपोली हो जाएगा. Okay. That happens in some cases, like UFC. But that's based on competence. सबको देखना है UFC. क्या करे? UFC का प्रेसिडेंट डेना वाइट क्या करेगा अगर लोग बोले कि नहीं मुझे सिर्फ UFC के फाइटर्स को ही देखना है, राइजिंग वन चैंपियनशिप नहीं देखना है, तो उसमें डेना वाइट का क्या दोष है? People want that company's fighters to only fight. But there are corrupt collusions as well, corrupt monopolies as well. I can't take names obviously, but in a state there is a significant production house which is the biggest production house in that state, and they control every actor, actress, director, production, web series life. They used to not let any other production houses come up, and now when they do allow that, they are still in charge of the distributorship of those films, as well as they own a lot of theaters all across the state as well. And they were about to get caught, but magically on the day when they were about to get caught by the state, that state's investigation agency, a magical phone came in to the officers who were searching their offices for all illegalities, and someone over the phone said that no, come out of that place. And since then that production house has been the biggest production house of that state. Okay, that's state-induced monopoly. That is not the case with UFC.
We've
I
seen
agree.
it. We've seen it. That's
I
the
agree.
result. That's the result of handing things over to the market.
That's the result of
fish.
politicians being for sale because their campaigns, they need money to raise campaigns, so I can go buy them because they're for sale, and they help me create a monopoly because I got a couple people in my pocket. That's been going on for a while. There's a reason why a lot of these bigger companies start off in different cities as headquarters. As they get bigger, they put an office right in DC because I got to go control some of the regulation and laws to not allow the other smaller.
डीसी में क्यों ऑफिस चाहिए, दिल्ली में क्यों ऑफिस चाहिए, वहाँ के नेता लोगों को खिलाना है.
Got to compete with me long term.
You're looking at footnotes. The main thing is that when you begin to deregulate and hand things over to the market, there's a tendency, strong tendency, to move towards monopolization as the bigger fish eat the little.
अरे टेंडेंसी किस बिना पे, टेंडेंसी ये बेसिस पे होता है, लोगों को चाहिए होता है ना वो कंपनी का प्रोडक्ट, ये वो एक्नॉलेज नहीं करेगा.
Strong tendency to move.
Okay, I'll end this live stream today. ये और भी बहुत नहीं तो लंबा होगा, किसी और दिन ये करेंगे. Thomas Sowell has a great quote for these intellectuals. He calls them third-party intellectuals with with no cost. अरे मैं भूल गया. With people who pay no cost of being wrong, people who pay no price for being wrong. They are the third-party intellectuals who pay no price for being wrong, and see how that is the case all across the world in terms of leftist politics. Noam Chomsky will never pay the price for being wrong on India. He will never pay the price for being wrong on USA's economics. He will never be kicked out of USA for criticizing USA. He will stay in USA. He will not go to Saudi Arabia. And he will not say that USA is the greatest country on earth. He will say India is wrong in handling Kashmir, but he won't come and settle down in Kashmir. Okay. The intellectuals who criticize Buddhadev Bhattacharya for bringing in the Tata factory, they have not paid any price for being wrong. They are still on public funded salary. They still have their tenure. They still go around the country or the entire world giving speeches on how oppressive Hinduism is or Hindu nationalism is. But those people had supported Mamata Banerjee when she kicked out the Tata factory. They did not pay a price for being wrong. The entire state paid the price for being wrong. For them being wrong. Okay. Amritanshu Jha is saying also some businesses are inherently monopolistic. For example, most people don't have time to watch 5 different leagues. Right. तो इसमें Dana White का दोष तो नहीं है. Okay, let's just check out what this person is talking about. Hearts of Iron 4.
Move towards immigration law of 1924, which was aimed particularly at Jews and Italians. I'm Jewish. The idea was to keep Jews and Italians away from the country because they were not up to.
Let's see what's interesting in Hearts of Iron 4.
Around. Well, that helped put most of my extended family into.
Where's the 5-minute Hearts of Iron 4?
Okay, they couldn't come here because they were barred in the 1930s.
Why do I need to see this? Explain it, then next day we'll check it out. Okay guys, so that was a huge live stream. Good night, and catch you tomorrow again. We'll discuss some other nice books, and this was a great distraction. This needed to be done. So remember, Noam Chomsky is very wrong as most other people, most of the leftists. So we don't need leftists to... We don't need leftists in order to come up with defenses of India or criticisms of imperialism. Okay, Noam Chomsky is anarchist in a different way. He's an anarcho-syndicalist. He thinks that state does not need to exist. Only syndicates and associations, organizations, those things, unions need to exist. That's his view. A game with geopolitics. I see. Okay, nice. I'm not a gamer, so I won't have much interest in it. The last game I played and had fun was FIFA 98. So yeah, anarcho-capitalists are the libertarians. This person is anarcho-syndicalist. And we know what unionism, trade unionism did to Maharashtra and could have done to Maharashtra and did to West Bengal. Okay. So let's end the live stream here today. Good night, guys.